Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
What is going on?
You watch any basketball this weekend?
Oh, basketballed out. I didn't even watch any bad television shows.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
That's
did.
how you know you're busy.
No, I did. Saturday
You take that back?
morning about 5:10.
Uh-oh. What were we watching?
It was not good. It was kind of a knockoff. I don't know why I let the title get me. It was called Taken.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But not the real Taken. Uh-oh.
No bueno.
Not good?
Might have been one of those Tubi free. I don't know. It was not good.
How do you find yourself in these positions?
So, because of my library, it gives me suggestions at the bottom.
Oh, gotcha.
That's how I found Flint.
And that went out. That went really well for you.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't need a Russian Rambo? No, it was cool, man. I was very, very congested all weekend. So
Yeah.
it's kind of pissing me off.
Yeah, that's not great.
I wasted a good drink in which I couldn't taste.
That's a bummer.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, why did I open this? And then I was so out of it Saturday. Zoe beat me in categories. I'm dead serious. I mean, there are some things she says that are impressive, but I got it from the table, man.
I was going to say, you probably got to be a little better than that.
I got it from the table, Matt. Mike is like, you quitting? It's like, yeah, I can't function.
You're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm out.
Yeah, but yeah, ton of hoops, man. With state and then,
All the college. Yeah.
I'm basically a hoops head. Some crazy stuff, and I always tell myself every year, don't I, Shane? I'm not going to get mad about the seedings in the bracket. I'm not going to get mad. Every year you could do the but. This year,
Mad about the seedings in the bracket?
no. But there are some poor, in my opinion, I think
There's some bad decisions.
There's some poor seeds.
Yeah, there's some bad decisions.
And I guess the one team that you're probably looking at and thinking, do they have a case? Because I think there's only one.
As far as being mad?
Yeah.
It's West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Like usually there's multiple.
Yeah, no, it's basically just West Virginia.
And I don't know about that. I was surprised. Can you tell my voice? My voice sucks, doesn't it?
It sounds like you've been struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it's not good. I liked the transparency from the committee post the show. Like there were some very logical explanations. And listen, I wouldn't have cared at all if Carolina didn't get in.
I think you would have preferred it.
That they didn't? I'm not gonna go that far. I would have been like, oh, okay, I understand either way.
Yeah.
I was prepared for that because I didn't think that they were gonna get in.
They probably didn't deserve to be fair.
I don't know. If Oklahoma's a 9,
yeah,
I think they more than can make a case.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? Because all the teams that I was trying to tie together for the last 4 or 5 weeks, because I could see this, you could see this coming, right?
Yeah.
I'd ask you about Oklahoma and Xavier and Carolina and trying to differentiate between the two. And the other one that was kind of in that mix was Ohio State. And I'm like, hey, you can see where this is going.
And Ohio State kind of took themselves out of it.
They did.
Right?
They did. And but did you hear the answer from the vice chair?
On
shortly
Carolina?
After the show? Yeah. Where they had the placeholder. And obviously their AD had to recuse himself. And so they were the one team that had the consensus. And if UAB would have won, Carolina was out.
Right, because Memphis
and UAB and Memphis were in.
Yeah.
But because Memphis won,
then
Carolina was in.
There was an extra spot for them.
And it bumped out West Virginia. But he did say something interesting. I don't know how you feel about this because I hate the quads thing. So it sucks to have this conversation, but I have to play the game, right? Because it's part of it's part of the deal. They looked at quad 2 victories to see that they were 8-0
as like a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'm like, but they're 1-12 in quad 1s.
Yeah.
They don't look like a team that should be 1-12 against quad 1s.
No, that's a big sample size.
but they do what they do.
That's half their games,
right?
Basically, right?
It's like it's not. They don't win close games.
It's not an outlier.
They don't win close games. They just they haven't under Hubert. They won't under Hubert. So like those 3, 4, 5 point game. They're just. I mean, you talk about sample size.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge. Like that's not an aberration.
And and it's also funny. How about the irony? Of the two teams we had the least amount of confidence in the Big Ten played for the championship. Of the good teams.
Yeah. Michigan,
Wisconsin and Michigan.
Yeah. I still don't know how Michigan beat Maryland.
It's incredible.
I don't know.
Go back. No, you're not going to go back and watch, but it's a head scratcher.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
I don't know.
I mean, I told you this last week, but they had a minus point differential in conference play.
Yeah.
And they were like 14-6.
It's incredible.
That's hard to do.
It is.
That's really hard. That means every time they lost, they just got their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Every single time.
They play weird.
I mean, Illinois beat that team by 20. I don't know what to do with Illinois.
I hate the way they play.
Kind of, yeah.
And they're a 6.
Yeah.
Like Illinois is a 6.
Remember 2 weeks ago when we weren't sure if they were in?
Illinois is a 6, and Louisville is an 8.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Louisville is grossly misseeded. And that's not to say Creighton can't win.
No, I think it's a winnable game. I think it's a pretty true 8-9 game in terms of probability.
Yeah.
But Louisville is underseeded.
Oh.
Now that they're probably a victim of the ACC this year.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But it sort of seems like North Carolina was a benefit of the ACC this year. So I don't really understand how both those things can be true at once. Like if the quad 2 wins, which are mostly in conference, are good enough for Carolina to get in the field, how is Louisville's resume not good enough to get them better than an 8?
So are you okay with Creighton being the 9?
Yeah, I mean, that's about what they deserved. Like, it was either going to be, like, I thought maybe they get bumped to an 8 for making it to the championship game, but it didn't really seem like they cared that much about conference
So
results.
the thing that bugs me, it's not bugging me, but the thing that's interesting is, so if they're one game away from winning the Big East tournament, I felt like if they won the Big East tournament, they'd have been a 7. But they're not jumping 2 seed lines.
No, so I agree. Going into it, that's what I thought. After we saw the field.
Yeah, it turns out we were wrong.
Yeah, I think they'd have been an 8 at best.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like, look at the results of, and Shelby Mass did a great job of this on Bleacher Report, the guy we talked to last week about bracketology.
Yeah.
He did a great job breaking down the different tournament results that seemed to have no effect whatsoever on the seed lines. So it's like they just didn't really care at that point.
And I can't remember what the commissioner said. They had, I mean, that thing was pretty much filled out.
Which maybe that's for
Friday night.
Maybe that's for the best. Like, it probably should matter.
So then you can't
Your
be mad
body
at,
of work.
Cal for being misrepresented about whether he cares about the conference tournament.
I mean, in a major conference, why would you? Honestly. Like, in a major conference, if your goal is to win a national championship, and for a long time that was Coach Cal's goal, I'm sure it still is, but especially when he was rolling at Kentucky, that was the main goal.
Yeah.
Who cares? Right? Like, your fans aren't going to give you a reprieve for winning the SEC championship if you don't make the Final Four. So if you're Coach Cal, what's the point? Like, I get it. Those results, I mean, Michigan, I don't think it helped Michigan at all. It certainly didn't help Creighton at all. St. John's was where they were. They were a 2.
They was where they was.
They was where they was. That's a 2 regardless. You know?
Team light skin.
Wisconsin was probably where they were at no matter what. The only team it maybe seemed to have helped, I don't know if they give North Carolina a little extra credit for playing Duke close. Like, that's the only team it really seemed to help much.
Are you
maybe Texas?
Are you surprised Auburn is the number 1 overall seed?
Yeah, losing 3 out of 4. Like, that's a tough way to go in.
I thought, and I mean, Pearl in typical Pearl fashion was just dropping some pearls of wisdom. Man, that dude is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, he could.
He said, "What kind of question is that?" Yeah. We're concerned. Like, can't wait to get started again. Let's tee it up Thursday, Friday. I'm ready to go. Like, hey, are you worried? And the dude, he looked at him like, why would you ask me that question? We're gonna line this thing up and we're gonna go play some ball.
Be more worried if you're Auburn with losing 3 out of 4 or Duke and you don't know the status of Cooper Flagg.
I don't know, man. I mean, if Shire, I trust him. By the way, does Shire talk anything like he looks?
No.
It's kind of weird. I always think it's AI.
Very strange.
I'm like,
Is this real? You just have to wait to see if he says something out of pocket or not.
I'm like, okay. No, but I'm bummed. I'm kicking myself over my January comments.
Which one?
About Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Should have kept that on wraps.
Well, I mean, it would have revealed itself.
Yeah. But I don't know how many people around here are paying that much attention to Florida.
None. That's fine. It's not really, don't do the futures thing and all that other stuff. But I'm like, you realize you could get a fire at Florida? Then it was $1,000.
I thought when you first said it was 20-1.
It might have been.
I think it was 20-1 when you first said it because I looked it up.
And I'm like, now they're most people's favorite.
Maybe put a couple shekels on it back then.
Fudge. But you could just tell. Hey, Clayton is sweet, isn't he?
Yeah. No, they're loaded.
Their front line is so versatile.
Yeah, like they can play a lot.
They can play a lot of different ways, and they flip and score.
Yeah, I like watching them. I enjoy watching that team.
And maybe Tennessee is. I still don't know if they're better than Bama. I just need Ziegler to make some jump shots.
That's the thing is
because he's gonna get them.
Well,
and he was good in the tournament up until yesterday.
He really was. That's the thing, though, with both, I think, Alabama and Tennessee is they sort of have this lead point guard. I don't want to call it problem, but they sort of are at their mercy.
You're talking about Tennessee? I don't know, man. He's good. He's really good.
No, he is. But, I mean, Ziegler and Sears, and probably less so Alabama with Sears, but – in a tournament like this, you're probably going to be at the mercy of how those guys go.
He typically plays well, though. The bigger the stage for Zakai, he's way good.
He killed Creighton last year.
He just has to. He's gonna get that mid range.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to knock it down.
100%.
I'm color me curious to see what happens with Boogie Flan coming back for Arkansas too.
Yeah,
because really hard to stay in front of that little dude.
Arkansas is interesting. I think they're one of those teams. Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas seem like the ones that benefited the most from the SEC's dominance this year. They got Texas is I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old I'm too much of an old head with the bracket.
Well, you are old.
But the 15 losses, I'm just like, you don't get a play. I'm sorry. It's
an ugly number.
Yeah, 15 losses, go home. Oh. You had your chance. Oh. You had your play-in games. You lost your opportunity with 15 losses. Get out of here. Unless you win your conference tournament, I just need you to go home at 15 losses.
Oklahoma surprised you?
That they were so safely in?
Yeah.
Not only because – I would say no, only because that sort of seemed the trend of where the bracketologists were starting to put them. I have a hard time feeling that they were as comfortable as they were, though. That's a little wild.
I mean, Connecticut is significantly better than them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's part of the problem with the SEC thing, right? Is I think some of those teams got bumped in a way. Oklahoma, if I had my way, Oklahoma would take Texas's place in the play-in game, and Texas wouldn't be in. And somebody else would be a 9 seed.
I would not be chomping at the bit to play Texas, though.
No, I wouldn't either.
So who's the play-in team that's going to win multiple games? Because we know that happens.
It does most years. I don't know, man. I don't love – I mean, honestly, it's the best chance I'm not even – the best chance is Carolina.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about that. Because I don't trust them at all. But they're the best. I mean, that's the best.
As long as the game isn't close.
Yeah, if they can win by a couple possessions.
Yeah. Seriously.
Although, Xavier's playing pretty well right now.
They are. I don't love them though.
I don't either.
I don't even know if I like them. I know our Twitter group does, or text group, but
I think D. Marinas and Padilla do. I think it's 50-50 on not loving Xavier.
Yeah.
But mine's a Sean Miller thing more than I just don't like Sean Miller.
Yeah. I'd take it back. You're not as old as I thought. Well, getting old means getting past things you don't like.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna stay young forever then.
Oh, Rod Stewart.
Forever young.
No.
I am old.
Forever young.
Who's the one that I sang, Shane?
I don't know, but that's the youngin' in you. Rod Stewart, man. Get it together.
Listen, I'm a big Maggie May guy. I bring it up, and you're like, nah, no Rod Stewart for me.
So, can I just say I'm constantly thinking?
What's up?
So, we have this watch party.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody had the kid gloves on to ask me, hey, do you think you can come? Hey, for you guys, for work, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I said yes relatively soon to Sasha, probably within 3 or 4 minutes of her sending the text.
Which is pretty quick. That's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. Because I was on a roll because she had asked me to do a couple things and I just was like kind of in yes mode.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's see if I can make this happen. And then we get the matchup. The first goddamn game out of the chutes is flipping Creighton.
Your boy Chucky.
And Louisville.
Yep. Can I ask you?
It's the first game out of the chutes. You think people aren't going to be out and about watching Creighton and Louisville?
Yeah.
It could be anarchy.
Yeah, it could be.
I hope so, though. Come out and eat good food.
Yeah, come hang out with us on Thursday.
But, yeah, I gave it pause. I'm like, oh, poop.
Well, so she did give you permission to not be here the whole time.
Yeah, but I'm a starter. So
I know. I'm saying
later on in the day, I'm not as functional.
Yeah. Well, because you don't sleep.
So it's not as much as when I go home.
Yeah, like shut it down.
I'm shutting her down.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I have noticed that.
They moved Micah's track practice back to 1 today. I said, good luck getting there.
I have noticed that. Once you get home, you're not coming back out.
You taking a Jenny? Is that funny, Shane? Shane is funny. Shane is funny.
Yeah, I might have laughed on that.
I'm serious, man. They got Uber teens though.
Yeah, you can help them out.
Yeah, I had to get up and get my corned beef ready to do nothing. I think I'm just gonna smoke it.
Yeah.
I patted it dry. I had to get all the fake brine off. But then this week though, I'm doing the big boy.
Which one?
The Packer.
The tri-tip?
Yeah, no, the point and the flat together.
Yeah.
That you liked with the ends.
Yeah.
This is just a little
guy?
Yeah.
Corned beef is good though.
I went back to Fairway back-to-back days.
Yeah.
Because they had a 2-day sale and a lot of it they had limits.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can only
limit 2 per or whatever.
Yeah. Man, I went back Saturday. Unsalted salted butter. The rack looked like the Red Sea after Moses and Aaron hit it.
Just part it.
I mean, just a void. And I knew I was in trouble because Friday afternoon, which, by the way, that's the first time I've been to the grocery store on a Saturday afternoon.
Oof.
And I mean,
I do not go on weekends.
So I don't really give it pause. It just fits whatever my schedule is.
I actively avoid it.
But, I'm in a horrible mood Saturday. So I'm like, you know what? Let me see what's left at the store.
Mm-hmm.
But Friday gave me the precursor. 2 cute little old couples.
Yeah.
Probably well into their 70s. My 2 ladies, man, and their hubbies,
mm-hmm.
They needed butter. $2.99, limit 2.
Mm-hmm. They check out one by one?
Yes. Yes. I couldn't believe it.
So you have 4 of them getting 2 each?
And I mean, they were getting their dig game right too. I mean, getting back because they wanted unsalted. So I could see that it was red to the left. And there's like 2 of us kind of waiting behind them.
Yeah.
And my man's, he couldn't really see that well.
Yeah.
So Margaret or Gertrude or Helen or whomever was like directing him. I'm like, just do it for him. Chivalry doesn't have to be dead. Like, just hook him up.
Yeah,
like,
help him out.
My man is struggling. So as God is my witness, after like 3 minutes of real time,
you just do it.
And it's just butter, man. Yeah. It's not like, just get it and move on.
Yeah,
right?
Just do it.
You're not like looking for marble or, fat caps. Or
you're not like checking the eggs, make sure none of them are broken or anything.
And I'm a little insecure. I shouldn't be, but I'm just telling you, I'm the only brother in an aisle of like 9 people, and they're all maybe twice my age. No, they're not 100, but they're older. So I shouldn't be, right? But I'm a little hesitant. It's like, do I? Okay. I said, hey, I can reach back there and grab that for you. And she kind of looked at me, and I was like, oh, damn, she may not be right. Nah, she was cool. She said, could you please?
That's nice.
He looked at me. So I moved them all. It was like a shovel. I just like moved them to the front. And then I got back in line. I wanted to take them so bad.
Dude, take yours and go. What are you doing?
It was respect.
And
then I came back Saturday because I knew Ding Dong was coming home, which means he's going to get cinnamon rolls. And I'm like, man, we might need some more butter.
Yeah.
Empty. So if I had any friends to go grocery shopping with, hey, you get 2. And I didn't know that was the lick.
Oh, yeah. My mom used to have us do that when we were kids.
I coached with a guy. He shall remain nameless. He'll go back in. He'll go back to his car and come back in. And I should have if I was thinking, but I was like, I mean.
When we were kids, my mom used to have us do it. She'd take all 4 of us to the grocery store.
Oh, that's the lick.
Yeah.
They had limits back then?
Oh, yeah. Depends if there was like a really good sale on something. Usually it was like milk.
They had bacon, 4-packs, or you can only get 4 at a time.
Well, our guy Johnny Pig took care of our bacon for us.
Hey, I'm not even gonna lie, and I'm only doing it because he's getting treatment today and tomorrow. I took him out today. I was not giving that away.
Yeah.
Well, there's only like 8 strips in there. I'm like, I ain't sharing.
No.
That's a sitting.
So that's like half a breakfast.
I'd be like, hey, what happened to that bacon you had vacuum? Say, I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't know.
Don't worry. But yeah, we'd go in. Usually it was milk or eggs or something like that. We'd go in, like limit 2, and she'd give us each like our $5 or $10 or whatever it was, and we'd just all be lined up in a row, and then we'd go wait outside for one another.
Oh man,
get like 10 things of milk.
That's nice.
We did that all the time.
So do you know what people buy now that eggs are high?
What's that?
And most places have a limit.
What's that?
All the liquid eggs.
Oh, the egg whites or whatever?
Gone.
Yeah.
More Moses.
Those things are disgusting.
Really?
The like liquid egg whites, the egg beaters?
Oh man, you got to know how to do them. I get it. Ooh. You may not like the texture.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
Got to cook them in butter.
I ate too many of those when I was trying to be a power lifter. Like there's a lot, like just to get
protein powder. You just out.
I can't do it anymore, man. I can barely eat eggs at all now. I ate so many eggs.
But I bet I had 8 this weekend.
I would do
minimum. Like no, yeah, 8.
I would do like 4 to 6 every morning with sausage links, with like turkey sausage links to get like 40 grams of protein before I even got to work or whatever. Ugh.
You know, my thing now that I have new cookware is I just whatever protein's left, I cut it up in a little non-stick skillet. I beat 3 or 4 eggs, season them, sprinkle the cheese.
It makes me
flip
mad.
That thing over. I could eat that. I could eat that every day.
It makes me mad because I loved eggs, and I'm kind of just over them.
The boys wanted nachos, so I ran to get some chorizo at said spot because they have really good in-store chorizo.
Chorizo's so good. I love chorizo.
And Micah he wanted the rest in a scramble yesterday with his leftover rice. Mm-hmm. I wanted to eat it. It was so goddamn good.
Yeah.
I wasn't messing with the rice, though.
Chorizo's good, man. I love it.
I know where my meltdown's going to be this week. So,
yeah?
Yeah.
Where's that?
I'm going to make a corned beef sandwich at some point on good bread.
Let's go.
I'm going to smash the heck out of it.
Get like some rye or something?
No,
not a big rye guy. All right, that's the traditional that's the traditional bread for corned beef.
Do I look traditional to you?
Well, it depends on what tradition.
Ain't no goddamn leprechaun.
Like AME tradition looks like right up your alley, you know?
Which, by the way, you talk about cultural awareness in our house.
Yeah.
I don't know when this happened. I should probably pay more attention to who I'm married to, but so I get up this morning and no one's up.
Yeah.
It's dark. There's a goddamn leprechaun shoebox with a rainbow, some gold pots, and cotton balls. I'm not playing. I swear to goodness. It's in the middle of the goddamn living room. And there's like 15 gold coins.
What's it for?
Man, it's not
like
black people. That's not black people stuff. I'm like, what are we doing?
Doesn't the movie
if I had anybody to complain to, I was in utter shock.
Doesn't the movie Leprechaun have black people in it?
I don't know, they probably died. Probably got killed first couple 5, 10, 15 minutes. James beside him. So like who does that? Who does that? It's St. Patrick's Day. We're doing this.
I'm just kidding. There's not a single black person in the Leprechaun movie. I just Googled it.
If I would have I'm like, what? Because I could hear something kind of sliding because I had to let the dogs out early.
Yeah.
And Buddha's like playing hockey with the little gold disc things. And there's like a trail. Are we getting toys for St. Patrick's Day?
I don't know. Is that a thing?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know where I got the idea that Leprechaun had black people in it. There's not a soul. There's not a hint of melanin in that entire franchise. I looked at
Did
4
we
of
talk
them.
about the whole black Irish thing? We've gone
But there's not a lot of black Irish people.
If we Googled the percentile and it's more than you thought.
Well, yeah, it's more than I thought because it's not 0. It was like 3%. Like it was very low. Oh, Jermaine, good call, bud.
What do you say?
Also, congrats on the 3-peat. He says, he goes, Leprechaun in the Hood has black people.
Oh, yeah, that was a real movie.
I know. So you can understand my confusion here.
Yeah.
I knew there was a Leprechaun movie with black folks in it.
Hey, Coach Bell. I'm not messing with him either. My man is probably out saving lives. Oh, that's funny.
When we get back here,
Look at that's an ugly little.
that is, man. I was thinking of Leprechauns in the Hood. That's my bad. I was close. I was in the neighborhood.
Weird, you being offensive.
What did I do? I was just saying I thought there was black people in a movie. How's that offensive?
Oh, apparently this started in kindergarten. About trapping a leprechaun. Okay, that's what we're on in elementary.
I don't know if we should be trapping people groups, but
yeah, you know about that trap game.
There's a problematic history there.
You're king of the trap game, aren't you? I'm like, hey, what's up? Hello.
I'm going to trap you into a question when we get back.
I ain't answering.
We'll see what happens. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, Hurrdat Sports Live. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, reminding you, keep those eyes focused and straight ahead. You've got one job as a driver. That's to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. DB?
Yes, indeed.
I've got a question for you.
Is it a hard one?
Probably not. Maybe. Who knows?
So, okay.
Well, what were you thinking about?
I was going to tell another joke, but I'm not going to.
Well, so I have a question here. So we know the committee likes to.
Do you want to get to Cody first?
Oh shoot! Yeah, I forgot we had a call.
Yeah, let's get him.
That's my bad.
Because you're reluctant to ask me, which means I think there may be a high degree of difficulty.
Maybe, or you're just gonna be mad. It's hard to tell which.
It's only Monday.
Let's get to Cody first.
All right,
Cody, what's going on, bud?
Good morning. First off, Ravi, I'm just going to apologize to you in the Creighton community. Saturday was the first time I decided to watch a Creighton game this year, so I believe it's my fault they lost.
Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Jinxie Smurf.
Damon.
Yes.
Damon, I was texting you last night.
Yes.
Tyson Lewis is the real deal.
Yeah,
he had himself a game last night.
That was a sweet screenshot you took. Were you watching MLB Network?
Yeah, MLB had it on.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
Yeah, are you waking up at 4 a.m. tomorrow?
You already know. I'm up anyway, man. I'm like, so
I figured.
There's two. So we're just gonna have early mornings because today I got to dial in on the players. I may not listen to Ravi from the aggregate playoff holes on because I want to see if McElroy continues to pin down his leg, and then tomorrow we got Cubs Dodgers. And I don't know. Then the rest of the week is shot, man. I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah. I mean, until Thursday, and then I'm tuned out because we got March Madness.
Yeah. Yes, you do. I have one question about that. Just one. No, be super objective. What would you have seeded? What would you have seeded Caleb? What would you have thought Caleb Smith would have seeded?
I thought he would have been closer to the 5-6 range.
Is that not what I said? Mm-hmm.
But I would have put Bartlett number 1 at 141.
Oh, just track record?
No. Yeah. But so what I was calling for is, Damon, are you a bean guy? You don't strike me as a bean guy, but you might be.
So probably no, but I eat them.
Okay. Okay, because you were talking about your leftover proteins.
Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite things to do is you cut up all those proteins throw them into a baked bean, throw some brown sugar in there, throw a couple of, some Rotels, mix it all up.
I have to have some meat. Like,
okay.
The only thing I normally only eat beans when they're in things. I don't eat beans.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Now, I will make like a refried bean dip, but I still even put meat in that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Once I was gainfully employed, as little as it may be, I believe I earned the right to buy meat. I'm not eating
Now,
beans.
my last thing I'm going to get to you guys, and because it's Monday and I want to get you guys fired up, can we please, I'll hang up, but can you guys please, we have a come to Jesus with the people on youth sports and bringing it back to the kids and not about the parents or clubs?
Hey, that weekend my guy is still pissed.
Oh yeah, I've been texting Tyson for the last 48 hours.
I'll explain it to Ravi and our listeners here later.
Okay.
So you know what his last message to me yesterday was?
What, are you buying a Bentley?
No. No. Belt to ass. Take it and like it.
Yeah, and they did. They did. But no, it's not even in wrestling. It's across all sports. I don't know if you saw Jordan Burroughs' post yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
There needs to be something, and you guys have a way bigger voice than I do, so.
I'm on it. I appreciate it, Cody.
Yep.
Enjoy your beans, Cody.
There's little drama in the
wrestling community.
Yeah, weigh-ins, not weigh-ins.
I thought maybe you were going to give me a chance to go in on my guy Mick Cronin.
Guy got called. A couple of kids got called out, and not the parents for weigh-ins on social media. So, of course.
So what was the controversy with the weigh-ins?
That they missed weight.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, they're not the backstory, and we don't have to get into it, but the backstory is like when you can do satellite weigh-ins and stuff, you kind of run the risk. But whatever you're going to do, just be consistent. Don't pick and choose like when you want to be that person. But this particular wrestling outfit made the I guess you call it a mistake of calling out kids. And one of them has a parent that is just we'll go there.
Okay.
And so it did not die down all weekend.
Yeah.
It was a thing. So
I think it's a tough look to blame kids in a youth sport.
Yeah, it's just parents are it's
a tough listen, there's certain and listen, everybody knows I'm not exactly the one out here defending kids. But like if I'm being honest, I think it's a tough look most of the time to blame most kids for most things, right? Especially under a certain age. You get to a point like you're taking some personal responsibility, whatever.
Yeah.
But especially if we're talking like elementary school kids, some into middle school, although God, middle schoolers are a tough hang. But most of that's going to be on the parents, right? Like most of that's on the parents.
My certification was in middle school intentionally.
Yeah, you're nuts.
Well, I thought I was guaranteed a job.
Probably.
Nobody wants to go to middle school.
No, not a soul.
I like middle school.
Middle school kids are tough. They're tough.
That's not you've told no lies.
Yeah, but I sit there and I go, okay. And I kind of joked. You sent me this clip about Mick Cronin kind of bemoaning the state of youth basketball, right? And
on the heels of.
But he's not wrong either.
No, I know. I
know he kind of comes off as this preachy whatever, but he's not wrong. The state of youth sports in this country sucks.
Yeah.
It's kind of the worst. We do this with a lot of things, right? Is we take it, we see an opportunity, we see a couple people make money, and we're like, oh, the purpose of this thing is to make money. It's like, no, the purpose of this thing.
How's it going?
No. The purpose of this thing is not to make money. The purpose of
the royal we.
The purpose of the thing is not to make money. The purpose of this thing is to teach kids lessons through sports, right? Part of the reason I don't want kids and I don't want responsibility of being around kids is because I respect the burden and responsibility that it is to lead them. And I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I understand how hard it is, and I don't want to be in charge of it, right? That's part of the reason I'm just out on kids, because that's too much for me. I'm not interested in having that responsibility. But if you choose to have that responsibility, like, you better flip and take it seriously.
Right.
Because I think there's too many people that kind of flippantly go out here and be like, oh, well, I mean, I could charge $10,000 a year for this travel baseball team or whatever it is, or this travel basketball team, or I could charge $100 a day for this AAU tournament, and then I'm going to charge the parents admission to get in to watch their kids at this AAU tournament, and it's all going to be hunky-dory. Meanwhile, like, we've lost the plot of why these kids should play sports. Because guess what? Timmy and Johnny and whoever else, 99.9% of you, not even going to play college ball.
I remember having this conversation with Matt Hoskinson, and Sam was young. So this had to be 15 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. And, you know me, I'm not going to be that guy. I told him, we were back coaching youth football together. I'm not going to be that guy. Like, I'm not. Yeah, about 6 years in, I'm like practically having to have fundraisers to go to Fayetteville, right? It's like, damn, I am that guy. And it's just, it's weird. It's interesting how it sneaks up on you.
Well, it's hard
because you can know better, and you still kind of find yourself in the middle of it.
Because you want to give kids opportunity, right?
Yeah, and,
like that's part of it.
It came up in passing yesterday. You know, Zoe had just come back from hitting, and we were talking about sports, and Mike had made some offhanded comment about select sports and about sharing athletes. There was a post,
which we were talking about this a little bit last week with men's and with women's volleyball and basketball coaches.
That's what came up. So we were talking about sharing athletes and something about Coach Booth. I can't remember the exact conversation, and I'm like, well, historically, there's only a couple sports that typically don't play nice with each other when it comes to female sports. I said they're kind of getting better.
It's women's volleyball and basketball is the big one.
It's tough. And I said, you know, it used to be, you know, softball didn't want to share their athletes either, especially during the off season because of training. And she's, what are we doing messing around getting Zoe on softball? You know, and it turns into this thing. And I'm like, hey,
it's going to be all right.
We got a chance to stay out in front of this one. She may not even be good. Like,
and she may not like it.
And that's the most important thing, right? That's number one.
And she may not end up liking it.
That's number one.
And then you cut bait and call it good.
You know, and it's like, and then I turned around and I'm like, hey, we may have to find like some shoes. And it was like, you know, you just find them on Facebook Market or whatever. I'm like, they kind of have to be comfortable. It's just youth. I'm like, yeah, but if like you hurt or they're not comfortable, people won't want to do it.
Yeah. For a not good reason.
For a not good reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if you just don't like doing it, that's different than like my feet hurt when I play softball. I don't want to play softball.
So
anymore.
I'm in the garage or whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, man, did I just pull a Jedi mind trick on myself? I just said I wasn't going to do this. I'm looking for like some decent cleats, like give her all a kneel. But I wouldn't do that with the boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna do that with her. You know what I mean?
My issue is like I sit here and I see all this youth sports stuff happening or whatever, and like 99.99999% of people aren't playing college ball.
Yeah.
And of the people that play college ball, 99.99999% of those people aren't playing pro ball, right? And out of the people that do play pro ball, 99.99999% of you are going to have to get a real job at some point because you're not making that generational wealth.
Okay, but do you know what I think it is? I'm gonna stop
real quick
right there.
Real quick.
I don't think pros is the goal. You know what I think it is?
What?
People want parts of their college paid for. That's fine. They brought it back down.
That's fine. So we're going to go back to just the first.
It's not the pros thing.
But like each step along the way, your chances are not awesome, right? To go play at the next level. That's so like you better be getting something else out of the sport than that alone, right? If that's the end goal and like that's in sight, great. But you also have to understand, okay, of the ones that are actually getting school paid for, like that's even a smaller percentage of the ones that are going to play in college at all, right? Because, I mean, you're going to have walk-on opportunities. You're going to have D3 opportunities, a lot of D2s.
I mean, not so much anymore.
Not walk-on opportunities, but, like, you're going to have D3 opportunities. A lot of those D2 opportunities don't come with big scholarships.
Which, by the way, congratulations to UNK, Carney. with their national
championships in wrestling. Yeah.
Well done.
A lot of those NAI opportunities don't come with big scholarship opportunities. So, like, even if you do go play in college, a lot of you are still going to have a pretty substantial financial commitment to going to college. My point is, you sports better be about something else too.
Yeah.
And if it's not, get out. Go do something else.
My main thing now that I've watched this for so long, and some at really, really high levels, some at really, really, or at lower levels, I think the one thing that I think people should really gravitate towards, but is being competitive, because we're in this little spell here of people not liking to fail and being afraid to fail, and being deterred because they quote
potential
unquote,
of
fail. And I'm like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you can push through. Like, go get it again, and then go get it again, and
that's one of the major values of sports is teaching how to do that.
It's just life, man.
Right.
Life can kind of suck sometimes.
Yeah, it can hammer you.
Right?
It can hammer you.
You, like, got to go get it.
Yeah.
And that would be my one thing on why I think there needs to be a certain level of competitiveness, because I think everything is all about preparation for what you have to deal with.
100%.
Like, so that's what
I'm talking about
that's kind of what I'm standing on when it comes to competing.
And that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying it better be about something.
You want the results to matter at some point.
Yes.
I just don't know if there's any other way around it.
I'm not talking about results. I'm okay with results mattering. I'm okay with being competitive. I'm okay with really wanting to win. I'm okay with all of that. I'm talking about all the extracurricular, like the parent stuff and the exorbitant costs and all these other things.
Is it disingenuous? And we just blew right through whatever fake clock we have. But don't worry, Shane. We're just prepping for March Madness when we do what the heck we want to do. It is and it isn't about winning. What I want to say is, yeah, I want to win, but I want the results to matter. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's fine.
So when I kind of get a little cringy when you say win, but the other half of me is like, which one's the bad guy, Jekyll or Hyde?
Dr. Jekyll's the good guy. Mr. Hyde's the bad guy.
Okay, so the Hyde in me is like, yeah, I want to win.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
But the doc is like, well, we just got to get to the point where where the results matter.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody will tell you, whether you're a boss and you have an employee or you're a player and a coach, the people who don't care about the results are the worst people to be around.
100%.
You'll take a bad sport or a hyper-competitive OCD person.
Because at least I know what I'm dealing with. At least I know what they care about.
Like, when the results don't matter, like, those people, they're just impossible to be around.
I think that's what Mick Cronin was talking about with a lot of the youth sports stuff, a lot of the youth basketball stuff in particular. The AAU circuit's famous for that, for people not, like, for the results not mattering.
I get it.
Because you're playing 10 games a day, whatever it is, and you're just out there, right? It's pickup ball.
I mean, we're out here, right?
It's where the magic happens. Like, I agree with you on that. It's okay to be competitive. It's okay to want to win. The results at some point need to matter, but
just don't call out kids without addressing their parents.
Well, that's the thing, though. At a certain point, it's
the parents' fault.
It's the parents' fault. Like, I think I used this analogy a while back, but this whole generation complained about participation trophies. Well, who were buying the goddamn trophies?
Yeah. Right.
The same generation that's complaining about the kids that got them.
Right.
The kids weren't like, oh, can I have a participation trophy? They didn't know what that was. It wasn't a thing. How does that go? It's not a thing.
Not a thing.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, right here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. I'm Ravi Lulla. DB here with me as well, reminding you to go check out my friends over at Midland's Family Urgent Care. They've got the compounded medications approved by the FDA that can help you lose weight. Still got a few more months. You're trying to get ready for summer. I know it's going to feel a little summery today, but Nebraska will remind us that we're not quite there yet by Wednesday. Make sure you call Midland's Family Urgent Care, 402-810-9494. That's their Millard location. I'm down over 30 pounds already. Get a consultation scheduled. See if they can help you out as well. That's Midland's Family Urgent Care. DB,
what do we need?
I had a question for you.
Okay.
You might get mad. I'm just trying to preface. So I got this. This was new information to me. That's why I'm having the question. And it may be false information. That's why I need clarification here. There seems to be at least in the last 24 hours a phenomenon that I was unaware of. And that apparently is that Chucky has some vendetta against Creighton.
Yeah.
That there is some bad blood between Chucky and Creighton.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally unaware of this, if that's a real thing.
It's not bad blood.
Okay, I didn't think so.
No.
If it's real, I'm very unaware.
So I had this conversation loosely about NIL with regards to him yesterday too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to put that's a family friend, right? I mean, this dude is.
That's why I was a little hesitant to ask, because I didn't want you to betray confidence.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's like, this is a guy that when we were at Wisconsin on a visit, took Micah around because Micah didn't want to do the visit. He wanted to go hoop.
Yeah.
So he
was just hanging out. Check it. Yeah.
Right. It's that kind of relationship.
Yeah. You guys are cool.
So the only thing that I'll say about that is I do think there was a time when he was in high school.
Mm-hmm. So a while ago now.
Yeah. Like most people.
Yeah.
Where I think he wanted them to recruit him.
Sure.
A little
He
harder.
wanted the validation.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
There's no vendetta. As a matter of fact,
I haven't
and I think I can say this too, right?
Yeah.
Like Coach Mack would have gladly entertained getting Chucky out of the portal. Like that was.
So that's what I was going to say.
I'm not sharing that. That's between Coach Mack and I, obviously, and the Hepburns, but.
Mm-hmm. And I had heard independently of you that was a possibility.
Yeah.
On both ends, that it was being considered on both ends.
Look at me.
Yeah.
It's no vendetta.
Like, that's why I was really confused.
Now, the low-hanging, I could see this.
They didn't recruit me hard enough out of high school.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But it ain't personal.
Yeah.
Chucky, he's not even, they're not like that. They're just not.
He's not an axe to grind guy?
No. Now, he does keep receipts, but that isn't one of them.
Yeah.
That's not one of them.
It seemed like
it's just like this NIL thing.
Yeah.
With Nebraska, I'm like, what stories are people telling? A guy asked me, and he was not being offensive. He was being inquisitive.
Sure.
And he's like, so hey, the story about Chucky, this, that, and I'm like, I'm just telling you. And I left it at this because it's social media and it's not really my business. But I don't think at any point during Chucky's courtship, when he was in the transfer portal, was he coming back home.
Sure. That makes sense.
Ever.
Yeah.
So
just wasn't interested in it.
No. And why do I say Nebraska has an image problem when it comes to NIL? These guys that hit the portal, yeah, some of them want to make money. Mm-hmm. But you have to think about who it is. Some of these guys, and most that are in contention for who Nebraska was talking to, are trying to further their basketball careers first.
Mm-hmm. They're talking about long money, not short money.
Counting slow dimes as opposed to fast nickels.
Mm-hmm.
So Nebraska has to be a place that's attractive, where the money makes sense.
Because if all else is being equal.
Yeah, like why would William Kyle come here to just make a little more money to not have the opportunity to have basketball success?
Yeah. Like William Kyle has a legitimate...
And I use William Kyle to keep it safe because then, the debaters, how's UCLA working out? How's the playing time working out? The profile for being in Los Angeles right now, they're still playing.
Yeah.
So
that's it. Like that's the whole. That's it.
That's it.
That's the whole thing.
With Chucky, I want a chance to play for a championship. I'm already a good basketball player.
Yeah.
I'm already going to make money to get to play. I want
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only reason it's the only reason Creighton would have been in the discussion is because of development.
Yeah, because they've got a history of making guys better.
It's the only, even though he didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Right? And I think everybody was honest about that. We didn't waste anybody's time with that.
Yeah.
Not we, they. Not.
Yeah.
They. Hunter Salas. Not an option.
Yeah, he
Did not want to be back in town.
wasn't coming home.
So that's where the NIL thing frustrates me. If Nebraska needed more money, they would get more money. Listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If Nebraska needed more money, they would get more money. I understand what the dollar figures show that they spend, but what do they have to spend it on?
Yeah, like if you
what do they have to spend it on?
If you go to all the stores, right, and they're all closed. Like if you're walking down Chicago, you're walking down Michigan Avenue.
5 years ago, it's Christmas Eve. No, it's Christmas Day, and I'm coming back into town. Nothing's open.
Yeah.
I went to Walgreens.
Yeah.
Walgreens. And got frozen food. Is that a good example?
You would have spent more.
I would have spent more money.
That was an option.
I didn't have anything to spend it on.
Yeah. Like you can walk down. All the stores are closed. All the fancy stores are closed, you know?
Yeah, I think, sure, would Nebraska like more in the kitty? Yeah, that's not my point.
Yeah.
That's not the NIL point. The point is you gotta have money to spend something on.
Here's the question I always have, right?
Yeah, no, that game
no bad blood.
Ain't gonna be any extra personal. I mean, if he's pissed about anything, it's the seed.
It's about being an 8 seed.
Yeah, that's a danger. 8, 9s.
Those are tough places to live.
Yeah. Who's favored?
I haven't looked yet. Here's the question I have, though, right? Chucky, Hunter, William Kyle. None of them came to Creighton either. Are we having an NIL discussion about Creighton right now?
No, and I told you, Nebraska could be
significantly more well-funded than Creighton.
Yeah. Now, Creighton's setup is better because of how Mac has it built.
Yeah.
And the people that do their NIL.
But in terms of just gross dollars.
It's fantastic that there's no – listen, Isaac Trout came back to Creighton. If anybody thought that there would be bad blood,
yeah,
it'd be Trout.
Yeah.
Not Chucky.
If there was any issues, I feel like we would know. Coming up next, we're going to talk to our friend Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald here on Hurrdat Sports Live. Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, how are you this morning?
Hey, guys. I'm all right. How are you?
Good. This is you going to enjoy the weather today? You got some corned beef and cabbage. You a cabbage guy, Sam?
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the heck out of the weather today. It's gonna be great. No corned beef and cabbage, I don't think, but we'll survive and be just fine without that.
Yeah, I will always be just fine without cabbage, but corned beef I think is fairly spectacular. Although I like it.
Good.
I like it either smoked or on the grill. I'm not like a traditional crock pot, stink up the house, that kind of guy, but man, it used to be my favorite lunch meat till it was $12.99 a pound.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely expensive. The best corned beef I've ever had was in 2011, the University of in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
It's awful specific.
They have a deli there called Zingerman's, and it is the best.
Zingerman's, huh? So
yeah.
hook, line, and sinker. I fell for the tourist trap. Like, I'm not going to call out any Omaha restaurants, but you know how there's just places people tell you to come here and they're like, oh, you got to go here for this.
Yeah.
I did that in New York at Katz's Deli. And let me just tell you, Sam, I could not have been more disappointed.
Disappointed? Okay.
2 mornings late. Now, it was a monster sandwich. A monster.
Yeah.
Like, so that was kind of in my wheelhouse. But 2 days later, on a humbug, kind of like a wayward orphan, I'm just walking around downtown, and I stumble into a little corner store / convenience store that had a deli in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $23 less for that sandwich. Exactly, $23 less for that sandwich. And it was amazing. So I'm like, you know what? I get it. There are tourist traps everywhere, and Katz's Deli is one of them.
Good to know.
That's my story. Now, hopefully, Nebraska won't have to play any more of those bowl games, in New York for a while.
I don't think they're going to be.
Okay, let's start. Let's start with Loco hoops, just because.
Sure.
I mean, listen, Louisville and Creighton. It's a heck of a matchup. It's a tight 8-9. Which team do you feel, if either, is seeded incorrectly?
Between the two of them, Louisville. I think Louisville is probably not an 8 seed, but Creighton's seeded low in my opinion too. And I would say it's the team that probably should be the most unhappy is Auburn. And then Auburn's going to be playing a game that's going to be really challenging, no matter who they play. Creighton has a center that can take away some of what Auburn does. Auburn's similar in some ways to St. John's. Yes, St. John's is beat Creighton soundly in the second half of that game, but Auburn won't have much of a crowd to sort of push them on. So yeah, Louisville's a little underseeded, but not much you can do. Obviously, the committee really liked the work that the SEC did, and we will find out together whether that was warranted.
Sam, as you kind of look at this matchup, you said you thought Creighton was a little underseeded as well.
Yeah.
What kind of gives you that? Because I'm looking at them, I go, yeah, I figure like an 8 or a 9. Did you think making it to that Saturday Big East Championship final should have bumped them a little bit? Because it didn't seem like the committee took conference tournament results a ton into consideration in terms of seeding.
Yeah, I think probably the seeding is built on what Creighton losing to Nebraska and Creighton just not having a very good showing out in Las Vegas. So they lost to Texas A&M, which I thought was a good loss. I mean A&M is a very good team. And then they also lost to San Diego State.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was also an okay loss. But Creighton hasn't, they've had some struggles out there. What's interesting is a couple of years ago, Creighton was a 6, and they lost to UNLV and BYU out in Vegas, or Arizona State and BYU out in Vegas, and it didn't hurt them as much. So I feel like this particular group of decision makers really leaned hard on the on the non-conference approach to things, and that's fine. I mean, each group has its own framework, but I think the Big East. Here's probably the best way to put it: if you took Wake Forest, which didn't make the NCAA tournament, and you put them in the Mountain West, and you took the top team in the Mountain West and you put them in the ACC, I don't think they'd have the same records. And I understand that the ACC is down and NIL or whatever you want to call it, but the reality is that that's still the ACC and it's still the Big East. If you took Villanova and you put them in the Mountain West, I think they'd probably be about a 30-win team. So, I somewhere along the way, the very small sample size is something that happened in November or December in a neutral site where Boise State did this or Utah State did that or San Diego State did this. It feels like it has an outsized impact on the sport. And the other thing is that, at the end of the day, college basketball is really not built or defined by what you do in November and December from a fan's perspective. Now, maybe they should move when college basketball starts, but people don't really care about what's going on in college basketball in November and December. And it feels like the tail wagging the dog when the committee says, yes, but we care. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't. I get that the committee wants teams to schedule other good teams, but people aren't by and large watching those games. You should redesign your selection committee process to reward the games that people are really watching, which is the conference games and the conference tournaments. We may not like the conference tournaments, but fans do. And I think you got to re-engineer the way you do this, or otherwise you just keep running into these kinds of matchups now where I think the first and second rounds could be kind of interesting, but I think that, as you progress in the process, I'm just not sure the best teams are always going to get to the end because they're going to be facing each other, and that's unfortunate.
Sam, I don't want to speak for you here, but it sounds like you felt this version of the committee valued or overvalued bad losses more than they did good wins. If you look at Creighton, if you look at North Carolina.
That's why Carolina's in. They're 8-0 in quad twos.
If you look at Carolina's wins versus, say a West Virginia's wins in the quads and who ends up in and who doesn't, like, is that kind of, it seemed like they really punished people for the bad losses more than rewarding for good wins?
I think that's probably part of it. I think they probably tried to reward people for scheduling difficult. And so, taking the chances. And again, I don't have any problem with doing that. But again, is Michigan a 5 seed? I don't think so. Not at this point in the season. But if you go back and you look at what Michigan did or didn't do in non-conference play, by the way, Michigan played a pretty hard non-conference schedule, but they lost some games. And so part of what happens is, well, they lost those games. So that defines their resume. And college football's different. It reverses that. It obviously rewards how you're playing kind of right in the moment. And I know that, Matt Rule probably had some chagrin about that related to, and he's talked about it a couple times, but I think that's a better model. I think it's better to gauge the strength of a team based on it playing teams that know it really well versus a one-off in, again, in Las Vegas or Atlantis or wherever. Like, I just don't think that that's as important. And, there's a lot of chatter about how you put those schedules together and did we pick the right team, which created the right domino over here and pulled the lever over there. And, and did we do all the things the way we were supposed to do it and do it the right way? And that just seems like a little bit of a shell game. I think it would be better to gauge it on what teams do in conference play. Now, all that said, Nebraska was in contention for a bid in part because of beating Creighton, and they play Creighton every year. But that was a team that's 7-13 in the Big Ten really has no business making the NCAA tournament. And Nebraska was in contention in part because A, it won the right game, and B, it beat Creighton in the non-conference. And that was getting, heavily weighed.
Sam, safe to say, though, I get it. I get the premise, right, of the scheduling. But in basketball, with so many more opportunities and, the tournaments and, like, the non-cons always have some sexy matchups, and you have the cross-conference matchups that the networks pay for. Basketball is still in a different discussion when it comes to scheduling than football, though, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is, obviously, because you have so many more data points and you have an opportunity to play a bunch of different teams. So, yes, it is in a different part of the discussion. But, again, I feel for a team like Villanova, whose coach got fired, because Villanova feels, some sort of obligation to play the other teams in the Big Five. So that's Temple and not Drexel. Temple, LaSalle.
Yeah, I think it is Drexel.
Is Drexel in there too?
I believe so. Yeah. St. Joseph's.
St. Joe's. They feel some obligation to play some of those teams each year because it makes total logical sense for Philadelphia teams to all go to the Palestra and play each other. That all makes sense. And yet it would be like, well, don't lose that game, though. Like, don't lose the game. You're going to have to, oh, my gosh, if you lose to the wrong team and then they do the wrong thing in the wrong league, like, that's silly.
I mean, it'd be like Creighton playing Omaha every year, basically.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
Hey, can you do that, oh, my gosh, again, Sam? Oh, my gosh.
The reality is, like, it is kind of like playing UNO, but it's kind of not. UNO's been in Division I for 13 years. There would have been no reason for Creighton to play UNO before that.
But it's logical for them to play now.
Each other for 70 years, yeah. But, like, some of those teams in Philadelphia have been playing for 70 years. And what you're telling Villanova is don't play those games. Don't play them. Go play Boise State in Dallas, Texas in front of 13 people. Because that's basketball. Come on. That's just a dumb rationale to take. I understand metrics. I understand how it works. I'm just not sure that they didn't seed it better 35 years ago in basketball. We're not talking about football. We can have a separate conversation about that. but I'm just not sure that they've gotten this thing all that right. Like, I think they've gone, I understand the metrics, but I also understand how metrics work, and it's a domino effect. And what it tells teams, again, St. John's got lucky. They beat, who they played? They beat Seton Hall, and I don't know if they played Rutgers, and they beat some of the teams around their area, but it disincentivizes logical basketball games that are much cheaper for the schools involved over, hey, let's go travel and spend $100,000 to go down to, wherever it is. Yeah, Atlantis or Hawaii or whatever. And let's go play a random game out there because it's going to help us in mid-March. I just don't get that. I think I'm glad Xavier made it. I mean, I think they deserve to. They're the number 4 team in the Big East. I mean, they obviously won the tiebreaker with Marquette. I'm like, Xavier's a good basketball team. They're a hell of a lot better basketball team than Indiana.
And you look right too. I mean, full disclosure, you've been on that for 5 weeks. That before they got hot.
Yeah.
Right, and I think I value the Big East and the league that it is more than I think that the committee goes in there and they just see names and they just see metrics, and some years the Big East is going to be better than others because of things that they did in late November and early December. To me, that does not capture the essence of that league. Is the SEC, the best league of all time? I suppose we'll find out. My hunch is no, that it's a very good league, but it's not the best league of all time because I think some of these teams are going to get in the tournament and they're going to get bopped pretty good because they've all kind of been playing each other. And so, we'll find out. Now, all that said, I'd have put Texas in the tournament. I watched Texas a lot. I watched Indiana a lot.
I said that in the opening segment, and I can't get Ravi to go for it. I would not be excited to play Texas ever.
Well, there's two different things there. No. There's two different things.
They're good.
There's two different things.
They're better than your head shake.
I could they're more capable than my head shake. There's a difference, right?
Oh no.
Like Sam, I can look at Texas and be like, hey, when they're good, they're good. I wouldn't want to play them, all this and that. And I can also say 15 losses is too damn many. Go home.
Yeah, again, of the bubble teams, I can't speak intelligently to West Virginia. Really, I can't. I didn't see them much.
I did, and they're vastly different now than they were
in November.
Right. Texas is better than Indiana. Xavier's better than Indiana. And Ohio State, which might be the most talented team of those 4, really did not belong. I mean, they underachieved. And so I didn't think Ohio State belonged in the tournament. So the teams that ended up making were Texas, Xavier, North Carolina. North Carolina, in my opinion, is better than Indiana.
I got a question. I don't know how deep in the weeds you guys want to go. Is Arkansas getting a pass?
Yeah, we just kind of ignore them. But it's because – so here's my issue.
Do you think – is Arkansas getting a pass, Sam?
I think based on what I believe, which is playing well at the end of the season, no.
And they get Arkansas, Boogie Flan back, I guess, but they're a 10.
I think they deserve to make it. I don't know. Were they on the right end or the wrong end of beating Michigan? I can't remember if they were.
But as a 10,
they beat Michigan by 2. So
yeah.
So that was going to put them in. But again, I think they'll give Kansas a challenge. I think Kansas has played very well for 2 months. They're a long ways from the team that beat Duke. I like Michigan.
These first 2 rounds are just going to be mayhem. I actually think at first blush it's going to be super chalky at the end, but man,
first couple rounds,
these things are going to be disgusting early.
Yeah, the first weekend is going to be a lot of fun. You're going to see some upsets. I feel, I think Michigan, if they get past the first game, got a chance to go a ways. I think Wisconsin got a tough draw. Playing BYU in Denver, the 6 seed gets the big crowd. That's strange to me. But whatever. I think Wisconsin got kind of a tough draw. Illinois is probably going to be out in the first weekend as a 6. I think UCLA is going to lose their first game. I wasn't impressed with UCLA all year. from Big Ten teams, I think the teams most likely to get to the Final Four are Michigan State and Michigan. And then Purdue got overseeded. I don't really know why they're a 4, but whatever.
We disagree on that. I like Purdue. I know you don't. And you like Michigan, and I still try to figure out how they win. I ask every week, Sam, since like January. I'm like, how does Michigan do it with that loosey-goosey backcourt and turning the ball over the way they do? And Sam, all they do is stinking win.
Yeah, they can win, whether they can outscore you, and they can also play a slow it down defensive game. They have a good coach. I think that helps them. And again, they could lose their first game. The team they're playing is really good, and you just never know. Those 5-12 matchups, there's usually 1 per year and sometimes 2 where they get on the floor and they're like, oh, the 12 seed is better than the 5. That happened last year with Wisconsin and James Madison, I think, and the game wasn't even close. I mean, James Madison basically ran them off the floor. That's probably going to happen to one of the 5s this year.
I don't see it, but I mean, maybe. I looked and I tried to stretch my brain. The hot one is going to be Colorado State and Memphis, but if what's his buckets is healthy for Memphis, Colorado State plays weird and they got a great offense. And I mean, Medvedev's a stud who's probably going to get another job here in the next couple of days. But
Sam, it may not be the 5-12, but it might be the Purdue team that you don't love as a 4 against a High Point team that people are pretty high on.
Yeah, I mean, it might. I think,
High Point can score. I don't think they can slow Purdue down.
I don't think Purdue has any interest
probably
in
true.
slowing them down either.
Listen, you watch.
But let's just say for argument's sake, High Point wins the game. How does Alan Huss not get mentioned for some of these jobs?
He can be.
Why is he a worse coach than Ben McCollum?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you why here, Sam. This is my Huss philosophy. He knows right now, every year, for as long as he wants, he will have the best talent at High Point. He can win as much as he wants to, so he can be picky about the next job that he wants. But make no mistake, he's going to be very, very, very calculated because he doesn't have to be in a rush. He makes good money, is not a ton of pressure, and he has the best players.
And tons of resources.
Like, I'm just telling he'll come up because they'll do this again next year, and they'll be even better, and he will be able to get the job that he wants.
If you're saying that he's waiting for Creighton, I can understand.
I don't know that because I went through these hypotheticals last week with him about him. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's the guy that is like going to do the obvious thing. You know what I mean? Like the next natural. Some people just aren't built like that. So I don't have any insight into that at all.
I guess we'll see. Like, you know, the conversation around the Iowa job is what it is. And again, it's like, well, it's Darian DeVries and Ben McCollum. Well, I mean, Ben McCollum's been at Drake for 1 year and doesn't have any more time. You know what I mean? Like, he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good coach. I'm just surprised that, you know, Alan Huss didn't come up immediately in that conversation. Maybe it's agents doing what they do. Minnesota is perfectly free to hire Nico Medved from Colorado State. Go for it. You know, is he going to get NIL support? Is he going to get financial support from boosters up there? Because I don't think Ben Johnson did. And I think Ben Johnson's about as good of a coach as Nico Medved. They come from the same coaching tree to some degree with Tim Miles. So, you know, it'll be interesting. Like, I think Huss runs a style that people like to watch. So I'd be like, yeah, I'd want to hire that guy. But I guess would Villanova consider him? I don't know. You know, I'll just be curious to see what happens.
Sam, let me ask you this, and this is, we're just in wild speculation mode because that's what coaching carousels do. Let's say for whatever reason, Mac moves on, whether it's to Indiana, Iowa, decides he wants to retire to Arizona, whatever it is, right? And you're sitting there.
He's not going to coach Iowa.
I'm just being facetious here.
Oh God!
But let's say Max.
Maybe, I don't know. That would be something if he went to Iowa and it in Iowa. He coached at Iowa and Nebraska. Oh man,
maybe he misses. Maybe he misses the.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Maybe he misses the Valley. Ben McCollum moves on to Iowa. He's like, yeah, let's go coach at Drake. I don't know. Like let's say Mac is moving on for whatever reason. Who's your first call if you're Marcus Blossom? Is it?
There's other people who can speak better about that than me. I don't want to.
Well,
I know Nebraska. I know Nebraska donors that love what's happening at Omaha. Don't kid yourself.
Let me give you. I was going to give you.
There's a couple of heavy hitters that love Crutch.
No, I just was going to give you a list real quick. I was going to give you a list real quick, Sam. I was just going to give you 3 guys and give me your preference because we were talking about them. Ben McCollum, Coach D-Rock, Coach DeVries, or Al Huss. Which of those 3 are, if you're Creighton, you say, hey, I want that guy?
Well, I mean, there's some logic to the last of those 3 because he's able to incorporate. I mean, part of what Mac does is what he does, and he knows the place.
Dude, his coaching tree is incredible.
Is the same as DeVries.
Coach Mac's coaching tree is incredible.
Yeah, it is. DeVries, it costs a lot of money, so you have to consider that.
When you're second to Patino,
but there's other people who know more about this than I do. I don't know. That's a hard question, and
I think Ravi likes the fact that there's purity in your answers, Sam, because you're not jaded.
Well, yeah, I was curious. No, but I was just curious out of those 3 guys, because if we're having this conversation about, why not Huss over McCollum? I'm just kind of curious if it was closer to home, kind of what choices you'd be making.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of them would be good picks. I think all of them would be solid selections. And Creighton, here's what I'd say. I think Creighton's a good job. I would be very surprised if the current coach left for Indiana or Iowa. But, again, if you had a dream that you wanted to coach at Indiana, okay, but Creighton's been a way better program than Indiana for a decade, way better, not even close, way better. And on top of that, they basically draw the same fans. So, I don't know. I think Creighton's a good job, and a lot of that's credit to obviously Greg McDermott and Doug McDermott. Doug deserves, a part of the credit too. He was playing. So, that's a great program, and I think, man, I would think there'd be a lot of coaches that would be like, oh boy, you're telling me, top 10 attendance in the country.
I'm just saying, a lot of these coaches that are winning at lower levels, like D2, there's a blueprint. Look at some of these guys that are having success at the NCAA level and where they came from. McCollum's always going to be a hot coach because he's extremely good at what he does.
Well, and that guy could have left.
He's a monster. He could have gone D1 if he wanted to.
At a various amount of times, yeah.
The guy that knows a lot about McCollum is John Walker, our Creighton beat writer he used to cover. So you want a McCollum expert.
You know what we need?
Walker.
We need to talk to Johnny Walker, blue and black. We have yet to talk to him, and I find him fascinating.
Get him on the phone. Here you go. See, there's people who know way more about. I just don't want to speak out of turn. You want to talk to me about the edge rushers at Nebraska. I think I've literally watched every transfer now. Well,
I will say this, Sam.
Long snapper, but
since you're being very, I love the style of communication. You're being very free flowing. So I'm gonna take advantage of your range here. How many, in the injuries? Because I'm not leading. Let me just get to it. How many of these guys, Sam, that they got out of the portal, considering there was this narrative that Nebraska's kind of turning the script and getting away from development, do you think will actually contribute and play this year?
12 or 13 out of the 60.
Really?
Yes.
I think you're nuts.
Why?
He said, why? You're so interesting. Why?
Well, why? I mean, okay, so let's just go through the ones that I don't think will do a lot.
Okay.
The quarterback.
Okay.
Right? The defensive lineman from Mississippi State.
Okay.
And the safety from Georgia. A lot of the other guys that they've added are not young. Unless Jameer Khan's just not going to play at all, well, he's only got 2 years left.
Yeah. You know, he's like 180 pounds.
Yeah, he's tough though.
No, I know. Believe me, I'm not talking about his ability. I'm just.
Yeah.
So it's things like that where we think we make this natural transition, and he may be gifted enough, but I'm just saying, like, I'll be curious to see what happens with the wear and tear, because availability and like rigor is a real thing for these guys.
Sure.
And it's more than just a handful.
Outside of the three I just mentioned, who are the other people that you're not sure will come?
And I'm not sure, he's going to play, but guys that we just like pencil in, like McCullough, right? You looked at his frame. I know he shocked everybody.
He better play.
Listen, I get it. No, I'm not.
He wants to.
Hey,
I can tell you that. Like he's on a mission.
Sam, hear my heart. The guys will play. I'm not saying they won't play. I'm saying it's not as a foregone conclusion on the numbers as we think, just because kind of everybody has a little bit of something. Like, you looked at McCullough and you're thinking, holy smokes, he looks like he could be hooping at PBA more than. So it's like, okay, is this a James Williams thing? Is he going to be a pass rushing specialist? Can he get to 245? Can he stop the run? Can he play a puller? If he is a jack, he's the fourth D lineman. Like, there's a lot. It's not just, oh shoot, man, he comes from here, because we've seen this before, right? A guy comes from said school, and we're like, pencil him in. I go by Coach Simpson's answer about McCullough too, right? Where he said, hey, you got to earn the right to rush the passer. We got to stop the run. So those things, I always think are like, I know how those guys are coaching it. Like, you can't. It's hard. I think there's a lot of teaching that's going to have to go on and rigor in this offseason for a lot of these guys to play the way Nebraska wants to play.
I think that's fair. I think the receiver position, they added 3. Certainly Dane Key's going to play. The other 2 guys, they're going to have to earn it. And there's some pretty good receivers on Nebraska's roster as is. I think in the secondary, I think Kahn is undersized but tough. And you can go back and watch a lot of Southern Illinois games. You can watch him play BYU. People do not throw at him much.
Yeah.
He's got some ability. Andrew Marshall has a lot of talent. He's been the one that everybody's talked about. We'll see how that goes. He played a great game against Oregon. So, that certainly helps his opportunities. Watch Jalen George quite a bit. I think he's going to play. I know he's banged up. The 2 offensive linemen are certainly brought here to play. I know, one of them is going to. Spindler definitely will, and we'll see with Elijah Pritchett. And then you have, the middle linebacker from Georgia Southern. He's going to start, and I think they feel pretty good about that. So I think when you go down the list, okay, so Harley Gilmore, maybe he won't play. Maybe he could redshirt.
Mm-hmm.
So that gets you 4 guys that may not play. Your 5th guy could be Jameer Khan, but I think Jameer Khan might play. And then, of course, the long snapper and the punter are going to play because they don't have anybody else. So, they have another punter. That's not true. But I think Jack McAllister is here to play. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Play. They didn't sign them to, not play.
No, I understand.
Right away, except for the 4 that I mentioned. Quarterback, Gabe Moore, Justin Rett, and Harley Gilmore. They can, in theory, all redshirt.
Yeah, you always
the quarterback can't, but
you want good competition to make sure the guys stay on their A game, and you'll let the chips fall where they may. That's what I think.
Obviously, Nebraska's backup quarterback is Jalen Gramstad, and Matt Rule didn't exactly say that, but his answer to my question about Davila and Latif was to talk about Gramstad. So, that's fine. That's their guy, and that's okay. I think that's a good pick to have a seasoned vet back there. But my goodness, if you're going to invest the time and the energy in bringing in a transfer quarterback, you hope he's good.
Yeah.
You hope he is, because you put the time and effort to bring them in. So they could have just kept another walk-on or whatever you want to call it, but they brought this guy in instead. And so I'll be curious to see how quickly he progresses.
That's Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald.
That's way good, Sam. I like it.
Appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
3 guys sitting at the barber shop. That's what this was.
That's right. I like that. Take care.
Appreciate it, Sam. We'll be back. More
That
Hurrdat
was
Sports Live.
forever.
I know. That's a long segment. Got to get out of here. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Do we have Mike? We got him, Shane?
Yeah, not quite yet.
Okay. Well,
Dodger season's over, by the way.
already?
Yeah.
Well, that's dramatic.
No bets. Lost 15 pounds, man. He's sick.
Well,
Season's over. No depth.
That's why we didn't re-sign him 5 years ago and like 2 MVPs ago. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Ooh, Tokyo. I can't wait to text you every 2 minutes. 401, 407, 409,
It's fine.
411, 415.
My wife will think I'm having an affair, but I'll be like, no, it's just DB.
Them people won't text.
Who's texting you at 4 o'clock in the morning? Who you think?
Isn't that what your burner's for?
I got no burners.
Ravi Kevin Gates?
Man.
I got 2.
Does Sautter
Oh.
text you at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, Sautter, he's
No, I bet he's got a burner, though.
Yeah, he's here.
6x9. I don't see him. Is he coming on? Oh, there he is.
Look at that. Mike
rocking
Sautter.
our Hurrdat sweatshirt.
He looks so excited to talk to us this morning.
Michael Jerome, what's up, buddy?
What up? Not much. Just here, living life.
Hey, do you enjoy when you get ready that you don't have to do your hair? What an advantage is that?
Hold on a second. So
Oh, jeez.
I shave my head every day, if not every other day. So it's way more maintenance than one might think.
You don't want the Hurley stubble?
No,
Will you be that guy for Halloween?
no,
You guys are both mean-spirited.
that's not true. I am very caring and loving and nice.
Oh, who's he talking about?
He's doing a 60 Minutes version of Hurley and not the Omaha version where he's swearing at children.
Oh, so hang on to that.
Always.
Okay, children like college kids, totally fine.
No, I actually agree there. That's fine.
Like,
I mean, like,
all right, listen.
little
Hey, all right. If you are a I don't know, sophomore, junior in high school, you've heard all the words, all of them, and you've probably said all of them.
A lot of them say it to you, don't they?
Sometimes, yeah. So, like, spare me the "you can't cuss at kids." Sorry. Like, if you actually believe that a 16-year-old has never heard of the F word, shit, B word, all those words, then you are, wow, you need educated or you need something. Because,
Wow.
yeah. Okay.
What the world is
What's
going on?
what's the
I wanted to say fuck so bad right there. Oh,
Are you wearing any green?
no. What?
I'm jealous. I'm wearing a little bit of green, but it's my envy that
It's St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, it is? Oh.
the only reason I know it's St. Patrick's Day, number one, is because the corned beef, the packer that I'm going to buy today goes on sale because everybody will have stopped buying corned beef. So that's very good. I'll get my 3 something a pound. And the other thing is my sister's birthday is tomorrow, so it's always before.
Which sister, Kim?
Right.
What?
Tracy, the middle one.
Oh.
That's Vicky Tracy Kim. That's all I got left, buddy. That's it.
Kim, my favorite Benning.
She's cooler than a fan. How was the weekend? I did not get dragged into the depths. I almost did with you, and I snapped out of it because I thought Markowski was going to choke me. I may let him. He was not in the best of moods. We were not going to have the officiating talk. So I get it. There's a couple schools around here that are not happy, but those said schools also had opportunities to kind of win. Did people want to bring up officiating with you? And shame on them, because my man Eyeshide, I feel like I should call him Christopher, because his mom wants him to call him Christopher, according to my man Larry Putney. But Chris, like, that's it for him. He's just gonna chase kids around now, huh?
I will tell you, I thought the Class A game was officiated pretty well. The state championship game, the semifinal game with the team off of 144th and Pacific. I think
I get it.
I think that call was pretty bad. Like at the end of the game, the call the hook, but if you're going to call anything, you call the elbow like a charge. I didn't get that call whatsoever, and frankly, it's one of my very few gripes about the state basketball tournament is it's a reward for referees, and the speed of the game is different if you haven't seen that all season long. So I would, sometimes, yes, those guys deserve to be rewarded for a semifinal game or a state final game if they've had a great year. But at the same time, should a person or referees or people that are used to a different speed of the game be in a much faster game? Probably not. That's something I've said for.
I thought the finals I thought it was outstanding. I mean, and that's Silvo, Arvin, and Chris.
Yeah. The final I thought was great. I thought they did a good job.
Call, but I think it was the right call. That game. Let's start there, just because, man. I don't know, Coach. I doubt it because he's a much better person, man. A good dude. Like, he's definitely one of those people I like more than he likes me, and I always want to give him like just either a hug or a hand. He's just a good dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it was at Westside's expense, and so I feel bad, but I'm actually happy for him. Like,
yeah. No one knows it. He didn't talk about this after the game or publicly really at all. Well, two things with Papio South. One, they're the core of that coaching staff, Coach Simpson, Coach Cooley, and Coach Heiser. They've been together for 22 years.
Cooley's a real one.
Yeah. 22 years. Same basically core three guys. So those core three have been together. Like, imagine that's what you call like best friends.
That's the entire time at Papio South.
Yeah. Yes. So they built, this whole thing.
I told Ravi Friday after we hung up, the only thing that I was sure of was that Ball would go for 25. He actually went for 32. But because there was just like we were throwing darts trying to pick wins and losses in that, I'm like, I don't feel good about anything except for Ball going for about 25. And that was it. That's all I could hang my hat on. And that's about all that happened. What a nutty kind of weird ebb and flow back and forth on Friday and Saturdays.
Yeah, I thought, one last thing on Coach Heiser, and then I'll answer your question or get to that, is
did a really good job getting his role guys to step up. That was.
Yeah, he did. The last month, he's been he's playing injured, if you will. So has a herniated disc or something in his back.
So he's been he's been awful stoic. He has good self-control anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he has not. There's been very little. My man, he's kind of kept it all under wraps.
He's been in a lot of pain. That's why, like coaching, like at practice, like having to sit down and like stuff like that. So I am so happy for Joel. I think everybody's happy for Joel. If you're not, I don't know. Like, do you think he has people that don't like him? I can't imagine he has anybody that doesn't like him.
I mean, they'd be probably closer to the Monarch area, but outside of that, no.
Yeah, I can't imagine a lot of people. But anyway, yeah, the ebb and flow of the Westside Papio South game, or just the weekend?
Just the weekend. I mean,
yeah.
Start there.
Yeah, I'll go back to I think Westside and Millard North, I said, were the two best teams at the beginning of the year, and then Papio South would be like, in the next tier, third, fourth in that. Bryson Ball, evolution of Bryson Ball has been pretty phenomenal. I mean, he's got
so than the evolution of Kircher, because they both have diversified their game quite a bit. I agree with you.
Yeah. Kircher has changed the way he plays a ton in a year or two. Bryson's always been like, I remember watching Bryson in South Carolina. They're playing the Adidas Summer Championships. It's 15U basketball, and I'm in South Carolina. They're playing New World. They're getting killed at halftime. Bryson comes out and scores 25 of his game high 27 in the second half, and I was like, bang, that guy. That's the next guy. That is the guy.
And I think in that same deal, I was captivated watching Kircher just beat pressure.
Yes, and he was
like, this kid can handle the peel.
He was the point guard on that team, and there were times where, at a younger age, Reese would take shots and maybe ill-advised shots and try and be the scoring guy. But man, did he this season, and really within the last year, he's really evolved into, okay, I need to be the guy that sets things up for everyone, and mine will come in the matter of, hey, I had 5 assists in the first 5 minutes in a state tournament game, like stuff like that.
You got Beckenauer defensively was a menace.
Yeah.
Ebb stepped up. Herrera was huge. Like, that was one of those things where you watch the sum of the parts, even when you have the best singular part in ball, the sum of the parts made them really, really tough.
Yeah, Herrera had 17 in the final, and they had 4 guys score in double figures. So,
Couple dagger threes too.
Yeah, and then Reese had 11 and 6, or 11, 4, and 6, and a steal and 3 turnovers. Not bad for the guy that's handling the ball every possession. And Levi Webb once again. So remember the Metro final, Levi Webb was the guy, right, in that game?
How could I not remember? I think he hit him for 20 some odd.
27, I think, was that game.
I remember.
So, it was good. The balance was good. There's those other guys I don't know. Yeah.
You know what you guys should do? You and young Jakob and AJ? You should have an all underappreciated team. Because there are a lot of those guys. Like, I look at Rahman from Miller North. I look at Herrera. I look at Snotty.
Ty Griggs.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of those guys that did it. I'm so proud of Snotty, it's not even funny. He's come far. Roy Trail, as Caleb kept yelling at the TV. Roy Trail! I was like,
did they call him that?
That's his government.
I know, but people didn't call it?
It's just Trelly.
I know, but people didn't call him government name, right?
No.
Okay. I was hoping people wouldn't do that because
there was just these guys. You go to the Scott game. There's just kind of Lewis, Lewis last week for Millard West.
Yes. Jade. Let me tell you about the Scott game real quick. Dylan Van Dyke.
He's a nut job, but I love
him. A little crazy. But
love him.
You have Carter Wisnick Inc. Was really good in that game. And Luke Lenz playing a lot more down the stretch, giving them some kind of extra off the bench size if someone gets in trouble. And Linderman was really good for them too, for Scott. Just that's one of those things where, okay, when Scott lost to Aurora, people were like, whoa, what happened? And really, well, if George Zebo was out that game with injury, so that matters a ton for what they do. But it seems that Scott always just has those older guards, football playing their best basketball of their life is going to be right now, guys.
Tough, no nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
He's a monster.
He that senior just think of Scott's senior year right now. Football championship, volleyball runner-up, wrestling championship, boys and girls basketball championship. Both soccer teams always in the mix in the spring and could win a championship.
Program moving too.
And baseball is clearly the favorite in Class B to win a state championship. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you could have of the team sports, you could win like all the boys ones.
Did that Norris games? Because I talked to Coach Most before that when I think he felt good. I think he felt it was going to be nip and tuck too. He wasn't going to take a back seat. I know we joked that was the de facto, but like, the way Norris played them, did that surprise you at all?
No, not really. I thought Scott was the best team all year. Trust me, I let Jacob Padilla know that Scott won the championship, and I said they've been the best team all year, even though Jacob was riding with a different team. I'll let you guys ask him. But Norris, no, it wasn't surprising that it was close. I was actually, credit to Norris, like, how do you bounce back from that win on, like, and
Coach Mote's delivery let me know that they were ready. He had a plan. He was confident. I liked his delivery, and it was only 4 or 5 minutes of talking, but I was like, no, they'll be ready.
Yeah, he did a good job. I mean, Boesiger had hit that one shot, obviously, that viral moment. But like Evan Greenfield stepped up and played well. They had more than just like their stars play well. And it took a game-winning shot from Scott to beat them. And those were the two best teams all year. And they were the two best teams last year. And all summer we said, hey, they're going to be the two best teams in Class B again. And they were. But that doesn't take anything away from Scotts Bluff and what they did, because Nate Kelly is a dog. So, and I don't know, like, I had a couple people push back on me. I'm not sure if you saw it, Damon, but Scotts Bluff's Nate Kelly, I said there's a little Mike Gazelle in him. I wasn't saying he is Mike Gazelle 2.0. What I was saying was there's a little in him, meaning he's got a little mid-range jump shot, like elbow extended.
I kind of got what you were saying, but I think anytime you bring him up around here, like Gazelle, he's legendary.
Yeah. But it also was like, I look at from the intangible standpoint.
Yeah, the dog, totally.
Yeah. Like he wills his team to wins. He there was one point in that game in the semifinal game where Trey Boswell, not John, Trey, got a little frustrated after a foul call, and Nate just took him, like looked him deadpan in the eye, just tapped his head like, hey, let's think. Like, and that's all he said to him. And he just calmed him down. That's just leadership stuff. Nate Kelly's a stud. I don't know what level of basketball player he's going to be. He's got Division II, like UNK offered. Kearney's offered right now. I think he'd be great, Kearney. We'll see if he gets higher level than that. It's just, his size will be one knock against him, but there's all that intangible stuff that he just brings out, and he's a winner and a culture guy. So I was happy for Coach Gullion to get to that final, though. And they had a good year. They got a nice group coming back, too.
All right. I'm going to get you out here on this. Do you have – who's winning the NCAA tournament?
Ooh, man. Well, when I haven't looked that deep, but I did see when St. Mary's draw, I was like, oh, man, they're going to win their first game at least. I do think Creighton got screwed.
No, I think Louisville did.
Why?
Because they're the one that's off the seed line the most.
He's talking about location, probably.
Yeah. I'm like they're playing a home game in
Louisville and Lexington sucks. Like to give an 8 seed a home game is kind of messy.
Well, they shouldn't have been an 8.
Right.
Creighton should have been off the. Creighton should not be playing.
But it sucks for Auburn too, because then Auburn, if Louisville wins, has to play a home game as a 1 seed or a true road game.
I don't understand it.
I do think Auburn. I think Auburn's pretty dang good. Like I think Auburn is. I think that's kind of everyone's favorite, or Duke. I do think Auburn's pretty good. It probably won't be either one of them two.
Let me ask you one more. How many points will Omaha need to score to pull an upset?
65.
Seems about right. Maybe a little high. 65?
Let's go get it.
Yeah, 65. I think mid 60 to 65, something like that.
About CBS giving Crutch some love. That's what I'm talking about, CBS.
See in Providence.
Yeah. Enjoy that.
Never been there, so it'll be interesting. Do I just need to drive real quick? Do I need to just like drive across over to Massachusetts to say I've been to Massachusetts? Is that one of those like you step out, like you get out and you take a step in the state and then it counts as like you check the box off that you've been there before?
If you want to be a guy that eventually gets to all 50 states, I'd definitely kill two birds with one stone.
Okay, so like take an Uber across the Low River or whatever it is.
So it's going to be about $17-18. You're good.
If that's important to you, yeah, sure.
Of course it's important to me. I just talked about it. Why would it not be?
I get it, Jerome. Don't take Ravi's guff today. He's been on one.
What'd I do?
He does that like he does, like he's not.
If that's important to you,
I'm out here.
I'm
just out here.
Bye, Mike.
See you, Jerome.
Okay, bye. See ya.
We'll be back more Hurrdat Sports Live. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where you can come hang out with us on Thursday.
It's a party.
It's a little watch party.
It's a party.
Starting at 11. Obviously, Creighton will be kicking off right there. We'll be here for a while. I think the thing goes until 4, but there's all sorts of things that you can do besides hang out with me and DB and Kenny Bell and some of our other teammates over here. You can also check out the great specials, and there's going to be a chance to win over the course of the rest of the month some gift cards here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Make sure you come check it out, whether it's Thursday to hang out with us or just in general over the rest of the month.
So I have a question.
What's up?
Can I win?
I don't know. I can look into that for you.
I mean, we have so many different entities.
True.
I want to be part of the one that's not included.
We don't technically work for the restaurants.
Right.
So theoretically we could win.
Do you think?
Might be a conflict, maybe a little bit.
Well, when I win, you don't have to announce me as the winner.
We're trying to keep this all above board here, DB.
Can't remember the little R&B gal that used to sing "You're My Little Secret." Was it Destiny's Child? You're my little secret. That's how we should keep it. I'm gonna have to Google that now.
I got nothing for you.
I know you don't.
In the meantime,
we start getting into too much culture. You're out.
Yeah, you know I don't like culture.
You're a big culture club guy, though, right?
Culture club?
Yeah.
No.
Are you not familiar with?
I'm
Culture
familiar.
Club?
Not like super familiar, but
Boy George.
I mean, I don't listen to a lot of Boy George. Like that'll go out of my way. I'll be like, yeah. You know, I'm in the mood for.
I kind of want to go in. Oh, it's Escape.
You know, I'm in the mood for right now.
Escape, like people say, Xavier, Escape,
like accidental.
Good place in Lincoln called Occidental.
Ask you a question.
Really?
What you were just putting X's in places that don't belong.
No, what would you like to ask me, Ravi?
I like to ask you a question. No, you know it's kind of funny. I know we'll get off the high school thing here in a second, but I was actually really happy for Coach Heiser as well. I don't know him, but he has had an outsized impact on a lot of people in my life. So my point guard in college and the guy I coached under is a McCook guy. He played for Coach Heiser back in McCook. Very good friend of his as well, Paul Putz, who I call Christian College Larry Bird. He's a professor down at Baylor now. He started a sports and faith institute down there.
Small world. The Beckenhauers are originally from McCook.
So I think I was going to bring the Beckenhauers up. I believe Scott played for Heiser.
Yeah. He's a bucket.
Dude, Scott was a baller.
He was nice.
He brought a couple natties to my alma mater.
Yeah. That's the same family.
Yeah. So his son, now a champion, he's the Beckenhauer you were talking about being a dog on D.
Yeah, he was a menace.
so it's kind of a full circle moment. So I've known Scott for a very long time through both his church and then through where I went to school because he was around a lot. And so like he's had this huge impact on a ton of people in my life. And I know him like in passing, right? We recruited his kid a little bit when he ended up going to Midland. And when he was playing at Papio South.
Coach Heezer's the type of guy, like when I see him.
Because his son could stroke it. Like,
or we'll sit, like I'll try to go talk to him.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I may leave and he may be like, man, that guy's a turd. But like I always try to. I even told him, you know, they were getting ready to come out before the game. And I didn't use my media deal because I wanted to sit with Caleb. And he's right by the gates after they won. And I just was like, I mean, through the gates, I was like, hey, man, you know, congratulations. No, seriously, like, well done. Because the interesting thing about them is he got everybody else to come along on that basketball team because it was a total team effort. And it's sometimes it's hard when you have the headliners and guys get a guy or two gets all the run, but to get everybody else, see, that's a his staff thing. Like that's the staff that does that.
Well, and you guys didn't. I mean, you mentioned him last week, but like I was really you mentioned Kircher, but I was really impressed with Herrera in the state championship game.
He just timely. Yeah. Whether it was a loose ball, a big three, he tapped a couple of offensive rebounds to himself.
Just a lot of guys doing their roles.
And that's when you want to win at that stage in the finals,
you have to.
You have to.
That's one of the reasons I love Jason Green. Like, Jason Green is a guy that it was really easy to watch him at Millard North and be like, oh, he's maybe the fourth best player on that team. But if you watch the guy that did all the things that needed done, it was always Jason Green. Yeah. And so he kind of went under the radar. He was unheralded a little bit despite having the early offers, right? But you see him doing the exact same thing at Creighton. Like, yeah, every once in a while he's going to pop off for 15 or 19 or whatever, right? And have
go back-to-back highs.
Yeah, have a nice game, have nice games because he's capable, right? He's capable, but he's not needy. He's not needy.
Doesn't need a babysitter. His Jay Green's competitive stamina is fantastic.
Yeah. Like, I know people think I'm obsessed with him because he's a Millard North guy, and that's where it started, but I love how he plays basketball.
I'm not obsessed with him because, I mean, I've known him since he was 7 or 6. And, you know, he made some tough decisions early. He got away early from doing what's popular because he wanted to do more.
Yeah.
Right? We were playing in an organization together, and, you know, Casey and his parents, they just were like, Robert, they were, you know, I don't want him to just be a back-to-the-basket guy. I want him to. And on this team with a bunch of little guards, you know, this is what he's got to do for you guys. And so it was hard early on, but just watching him flourish, and it served him well. And it hasn't always been easy for him too, especially with spotty minutes. And he had the early injuries. And now he's kind of like this glue guy.
Yep.
He guards on the perimeter.
Yep.
He can switch. He's the best weak side rebounder that I ever saw play high school basketball. He's got an uncanny basketball IQ.
His sense of on the basketball court is unreal.
It's fantastic.
Like, he just has this.
And he went back to his old low post days. Did you like that?
Yeah, I did. He had a couple
nice ones
that were huge spots for him.
Yeah.
Like, huge spots.
He turned back to the baseline. I said, "Ooh, getting crafty again, JG."
He put Caravan in the spin cycle there. Like, and then how many times do we see him have this timely offensive rebound put back? A couple times a game, right? Feels like that dude. Like, I love the way that guy plays basketball.
At what point did you feel like that was getting away from Creighton?
On St. John's?
Yeah.
Honestly, and I've said this
you know Lewis heard you talking bad about him.
Whatever.
Dude, he's good.
He is good.
He's good.
It's fine.
He's good.
It's fine. Listen, I thought the whole time Creighton was hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
It
was just too hard for him on offense.
Yeah. And like I've said this before, when a game is allowed to be played that way, and it's fine. Like, I don't think the officiating was biased or anything like that, but they were allowing St. John's to play the way St. John's wants to play. And if that's going to happen, Creighton's not going to win very often.
Did you hear Shaka at the half?
Yeah.
Against St. John?
Yeah, 100%. It's the first time I've heard a coach be honest about that ever.
So
It's the truth.
The question was, this is during the Big East tournament.
In the semifinals,
and there were
Marquette,
ebbs and flows, right? Marquette was
St.
up, then
John's,
Creighton
yeah.
comes back.
St. John's. Marquette, St. John's.
Yeah. And at the half, she asked him about keys and what's got to happen in the second half, and he said the team that fouls the most but it's not called, is going to be the team that wins.
Yeah, and that's St. John's always.
I couldn't believe he said it.
Yeah, he said the quiet part out loud because it's his philosophy. He coaches like that too.
Yep.
And that's obviously Rick Pitino and St. John's philosophy. And I don't like basketball being played that way. I'm not saying it's unfair. I just don't particularly like that style. Yeah. I like it when guys can move off the ball and you get good offense and things like that.
He said it.
And that's fine. But, I'm glad he was honest about it, right? Because that's exactly what he does. UConn doesn't do it as much as they used to, right? St. John's does it a lot. The old Mick Cronin Cincinnati teams did it a ton. I don't even like it in other sports. I don't like when Seattle was doing it in football and they're just mugging your receivers and saying, hey, I bet you won't call DPI every play. And they were right. That's a crappy way to play a game. I don't like that. But I watched that game on Saturday and I go, okay, the way this is being officiated, which again wasn't unfair or biased, it was just the way they were allowing the game to be played out. That never felt like a game Creighton was going to win to me at any point. Even when they're close, even when it's still a possession in halfway through the second, those aren't games Creighton's going to win.
When you look at the tournament, you looking at the conference affiliation or are you looking at the lines?
I don't look at conference affiliation a ton unless I need to get down into some tiebreakers in my mind.
One that I thought of immediately.
What's that?
Was Georgia and Gonzaga.
Yeah, that one's really interesting.
Well, you talk about contrast and a team that you don't like.
Well, I don't really like either of them, to be fair. But yeah, I think Gonzaga's. So, to be fair, and this is outside of the whole Ryan Nembhard thing, it's not that I don't like Gonzaga so much as I don't like how highly the metrics valued them versus what I thought they were. They were a top 10 team in most metrics. That never made sense to me. They had more
12 for sure, almost all year.
Yes. And the Ken Palm loved them. The net loved them. It never made any sense to me based on what I was seeing and on their results, right? They lost to almost every good team they played. And they didn't, they had some bad losses as well. So I look at them, I go, okay, not a ton of good wins. They've got some bad losses. I get the predictive metrics and everything, love them. I don't love what I see. They're probably appropriately slotted as, what are they, 8 or 9? 8?
9.
Okay, 9.
Yeah. 8, 9.
I would say, I know they're in that game. I just couldn't remember which order, right? So, that's probably about right for what I think they are. I thought they were going to get overseeded because of their metrics.
You want another tricky one? What are you doing with Arkansas and Kansas?
I have no earthly idea. I don't like either of them. Probably Arkansas, if I'm being honest.
Well, I think they're getting a pretty healthy number.
I think I'm going Arkansas.
It's going to be 6.5.
I'll bring it up here. I think Arkansas, just because, I've been pretty consistent about my distaste for Kansas and the way they play basketball.
I just look at how Houston defended Kansas and how...
And you think Arkansas can replicate that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I do. Especially with Flan back.
Yeah, that's a big pickup. That's a big boost.
And he's been practicing. Well, Patino said he's practiced with them both.
Kansas is a 4.5 point fave.
That's close.
Yeah, 4.5.
Seems like a lot.
I don't like Kansas though. I don't like the way they play basketball. So I'm gonna have a hard time with that.
David, the answer to your question is yes. Louisville has 2 elite level defenders, and I'll say this:
Hepburn's gonna give Ashworth a hard time.
Listen, and he may not be their best on-the-ball defender. So, they have 2 elite level defenders.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. That's going to be a really tough game for Ashworth. That's a game.
His QBAs must be loaded. Oh, he said money line. I was like, he as a dog. I was like, you paying $190? I was thinking the other way, but they're plus.
I think you're going to have this is a game where it's going to be really, really important that Fedor Zukic is healthy. Because you're going to need a secondary ball handler and playmaker because Ashworth is going to have a hard day.
Yeah. I just the way that they'll get after you, they switch. But, conversely, Creighton doesn't foul.
Mm-hmm.
And Louisville shoots so many threes.
Yeah.
Even though they have scaled it back.
Mm-hmm.
But, they dial from distance quite a bit. So I mean, I wouldn't expect either team to be getting to the foul line a ton.
No, it might be one of those games you have a hard time getting your TV timeouts.
Yeah, I mean, because Creighton doesn't foul.
Yeah. Least in the country.
And they don't. I mean, the ACC is a finesse officiated league.
Which is the one thing where I go, even though Louisville can be super physical with some of their,
It hasn't rewarded those teams well, though. The Pittsburghs, the Virginias.
I do think it, because the ACC can be a little bit more finesse, I do think that might be one of the areas where Creighton can make a little hay, even though it's a good defensive
I can't
team.
believe that's the opener. I mean, that's the first game.
Right off the bat
Of the tournament.
Yeah.
And it should be sensational.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
How many threes will those two teams shoot? 50?
So let's see.
It's 25 apiece.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that probably is low. Maybe I'd say 55. 55 probably.
Yeah.
Probably put the over under like 53.5. And I take a slide over. Like, you're going to get some shots up.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, that'll be fun. I'm excited. Is there, in your mind, any path to victory for Omaha against St. John's?
They have to keep the game under 55.
Yeah.
I think if that, because I don't see Omaha's going to score somewhere between 46 and 55.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, I know one thing: the backcourts will get after one another.
Mm-hmm.
Omaha will be ready.
Yeah,
Omaha will be ready. And you look at it, a 15-2, and the line's probably going to be, I don't know, 17 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be, it won't be 20.
No.
So that's a game where you look at it, it's like, I know it's a big number. I'm sure they're out.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's 18.5.
Okay. In the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think there's like at 4. This is a really good point to the way Crutchfield put the team.
Can you pull up 15 versus 2s? Is that the tightest 15 versus 2 line?
Wofford, Tennessee is also 18.5. Alabama, Robert Morris is 22.5. Oh, you've got 3 at 18.5. Michigan State Bryant is also 18.5.
Now, here, let me tell you something about Bryant.
Yeah.
Bryant can score.
Yeah.
Bryant can score.
Yeah.
But I didn't even get a chance to get into the Fiddler thing in Omaha.
Yeah.
Or coming to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Nebraska would have paid.
Oh, yeah.
Would have paid.
Yeah.
And it wasn't money for Frank.
He didn't want to go there.
But he wanted a chance to win a championship.
Yeah.
And get paid.
And they're 2 seed.
I could do that because we're really only talking about 2 years of this.
Yeah.
And I can give you almost every example of a guy that was on campus looking for, like, again, could the NIL kitty be better? Sure.
Yeah.
But don't bottom line it in terms of what they spend in the Big Ten because they don't have anything to spend it on.
Yeah. Well, and let's not pretend like the same thing isn't happening to football to a certain extent. Like David Sanders, if Nebraska's better already, David Sanders at Nebraska.
He is, yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
The top offensive tackle in the country last year would have been at Nebraska if Nebraska was better at football the last few years. Like, I think that's fair to say. He really liked Nebraska. Maybe staying close to home was important to him, but I think it came down to the fact they didn't win enough.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's true that's just one example.
You can feel free to use it. Take it and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
The best analogy is the one that I gave you about the successful, the good-looking successful people, the good-looking people that seem to have it all, but they don't have anybody to share it with.
Yeah,
that's what basketball players think when they go to that campus.
There's a perception problem.
What's wrong with this place?
Yeah,
and how are you going to get me to the league?
Former NBA coach,
right? Because we don't talk about Delano Banton. We don't talk about Roby. We don't do that enough. So it's like, hey, and it's not on their watch either.
Yeah,
right, from a development standpoint. So again,
I mean Banton, I guess, but that's a guy that because he recruited Banton.
Yeah,
but that's a guy that was always disappointing here.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so he doesn't get credit for it.
It's not on the
Like he came here on his watch, right? Like Roby was pre him. Roby he inherited, right? He went out and got Banton from Western Kentucky, but he was never what we thought he could be here, and then he goes to the league, and he's instantly who Nebraska thought he could be, right? So he doesn't get credit for a Delano Banton.
It's not due to lack of trying. So
No.
I don't. It's and maybe they do restructure. I don't know.
That would be and listen, I don't think Fred is in any danger, but if you want to make an argument about Nebraska needing a different direction in the basketball program,
Well, you can't run it back as is.
no, you probably need to make some changes, but Fred's not one of those changes. I would feel very confident saying that. But if you want to make one argument for new direction in the basketball program, that's probably it. Is he's been totally unable to change the perception of the program, and he seems unable to win without changing that perception, right? Like there's some guys that can win with their program having a bad perception or without high-level guys being able to come here. And that's when they have an identity and they're going to recruit to that identity and they can develop to that identity. Fred has not shown the ability to do that, and he hasn't been able to change the perception. Sometimes, because we're pretty far into this Fred Hoiberg thing, for him to get a bump, like sometimes you just get a new coach bump, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, hey, that's interesting, because you at least turn over a leaf, and when guys come here, they can say, okay, well, facilities are nice, resources are nice, everything's great here, great fan support. They must just not have had the right guy. When you get a new coach, you get that benefit of the doubt a little bit.
Yeah.
You're 6 years in, you don't get that bump is gone. That bump's been gone for a while.
I wonder what the like if you do kind of run it back with hard body, similar bodies, like philosophically, what will happen?
Yeah, and I don't know. That's my biggest question with them moving forward is who do they want to be? Because it seems like even though they
Shano, hang on, real fast, boss. Who got banned?
Oh, I just Game Dog was making fun of somebody, so I just put him in timeout for a little bit.
Those guys can hold their own. They'll be fine.
Well, I was just looking out for my guy.
Be nice,
unless he asks for it.
Be nice.
Unless
might
the
have been
guy
asked for it.
unless the guy wants some protection. I don't want to get in the habit of that unless it's just.
Okay.
Hear my heart. I am leaving it up to you, but I just want to make sure that it's warranted.
Okay. It might, maybe it wasn't, but
You can check through, 'cause I can't read that.
I didn't see it. I'll look though.
I know Snowy called somebody a dork, but he's called me worse. It's
Hey, be nice in the chat.
no, they never are. That place is a zoo.
It's a little hectic there sometimes.
One guy talking about burning cigars and drinking High Lifes.
That seems fine to me.
Well, he's talking about now.
It's a little early.
Do you know how many people are open and partying?
Oh yeah, I forgot people drink it in the morning on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I think places open at like 6.
There was I used to work with a guy, this is 12, 13 years ago now, that he got up at 6, would do the whole day. And I'm like, man, at the time the dude was like 40, 45. I was like, we still doing this?
That's incredible.
I was like 24 and I was like, this seems like a bit much.
Good on him.
It seems a little aggressive. He's like, hey, next year you're coming with me. I was like, no, sir, I'm not.
Yeah.
That is not a real thing. I never did.
I did it once with T-Mo's.
Yeah.
#fail.
T-Mo seems a lot more like a St. Patrick's Day guy than you do.
Yeah, 100%.
We got leprechauns versus leprechauns in the hood. You know what I mean? We'll be back with Kevin Kugler here on Hurrdat Sports Live. Welcome back. Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We are joined now by that voice you just heard, Kevin Kugler. Kevin, how are you this morning?
I am just awesome. I mean, the chance to be on Ravi with you is great.
Oh, jeez.
I appreciate that.
That was the end of the sentence. There was no more. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew I'd put a period in that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so your cover is already blown. We talked to Nicholas Allen last week, and we were just kind of shooting the breeze. And he goes, "Man, how you loving the new format?" He said, "Kugler and I were joking. Who's going to be worse with no clock than DB?" And I was like, "Wow, wow, that's that's what we were on, huh, boys? Okay,
yeah,
okay."
It was a conversation. Oh, there was no doubt. We were like, man, can you imagine? Damon struggled without a clock when there was a clock, and now to have no clock. I mean,
what'd you say? I'd be talking to Bill in Bellevue, or
Oh my gosh, anybody. It's like, hey, while I got you here, Bill, are you running by Hy-Vee later? What are you seeing for produce specials? I mean, anything there I can pick up?
That's true, though.
Yes, I know. I'm well aware how true that is.
Sometimes
hey, let's
you
go
just
to
want to
Dave
know.
and Dave and Papillion. Dave, have you ever gotten unleaded gasoline and unleaded 88 stuff? How's that working in your car?
Wow. All right, that's fine.
Oh, Shane tells me we're 72 minutes over when we were supposed to have a break. Enjoy 12 and a half hours of straight commercials.
Jeez. That's kind of pent up. So when are you leaving?
You want me on the show? You want me to
No. When's the airport?
The airport is Tuesday evening, and then Denver on Wednesday for interviews. Hopefully this blizzard thing won't be a problem. And then Thursday games. I mean, we dive right in, although I don't think we start till 12:30 Central Time, 11:30 Mountain Time, but still, we dive right in. We have no break either. That's the worst part of having one of these West Coast times is that normally you do 2 games, you have about an hour and a half break in between, and then you do 2 more. We start later, so our break is actually before everything, so we go straight through. So I have basically it's run to the bathroom, come back to a game, run to the bathroom, come back to it. It's a frenetic pace. It's one of those where you're just sort of like, all right, buckle up, hopefully. And, I'm a little strained this morning. I did 7 games in the last 4 days. Yep. So hoping I can rest up fully voice-wise other than the show here and be ready to go Thursday.
That full disclosure, that was kind of one of the things that I was a little worried about because I know you don't always love talking unnecessarily when you don't have to, unlike me, of course. The schedule, though, is the break work for you? You've done this long enough now where you can kind of condition, or was the tail end of this season a little bit different for you than it normally is with the amount of games you did?
No, I mean, it was about the same, to be honest with you, as what I usually do. I mean, I tend to grind a little bit during the basketball season, and there are weeks where you definitely feel it more than others. I mean, there are some of those weeks in mid-February where you're looking at games with, no offense to the Washington Huskies, but when they're coming up on the schedule, there's just not as much juice because there's not much on the line at that moment for them. So there were a few of those weeks where you're kind of like, what are we? We got some grinders here, but now it's a fun time. I mean, now the games matter so much, and it's such a cool event to be a part of, and you sit right there where you normally would for TV, right at half court, and you do the games, and you get to see some of the best moments in sport. And the other thing is, let's be honest, it's 3 weeks now until we get to crown a champion, and then basketball season is over for the most part. I mean, I'm adding in the crown for a couple of days this year, so yeah, I mean, there's that's added into my life. In between, Ravi and I will go straight from Indianapolis, where we're doing the regional weekend. We will fly directly to Vegas. We will do the Monday, Tuesday games at the Crown, and then we will go on to the Final Four. So that'll be an interesting week. That's not one I've done before, obviously, because the Crown didn't exist until 12 minutes ago. And so now to see that, and I know Nebraska fans are going to be fired up to have me do one more Nebraska game. I know you didn't get enough of me this year. One more is coming.
Kevin, you kind of fooled me there for a second. You said Robbie as in Hummel, who you hang out with all the time, and I was like, wait, where am I?
Robbie, you got to get to Indy, and then we're going to Vegas, and then you're going to the Final Four. It's like an Oprah show right now. Robbie, you're going to the Final Four.
Do you like? Jeez.
I have done 2 Creighton games as a color analyst, so I think I've got you covered, Kev.
Do you like the continuity in your partner?
I do like the continuity in my partner. Yeah, I know look, right. Everybody knows Robbie's terrific. He's if not the best, he's one of the best going right now. And the fact that I've worked, 4 billion games with Ravi over the last couple years, there's friendship, and there's also a relaxed feel because he knows my cadence. So I don't have to worry that he's going to jump in. I don't have to worry when he's going to jump in. I understand him. He understands me. And he gets radio too. That's the other thing that I always appreciate when I'm not working with somebody new is that they get radio. And you guys understand this because and radio analyst is hard because you don't have a lot of windows to jump in. The play-by-play guy's got to be so descriptive and tell the person who can't see what's going on what's actually going on that it's hard sometimes to come in those 10-second windows in basketball and analyze what you saw in a succinct way. And Ravi's very cognizant of that, and he's done a lot of it over the years, so he's really good at it now, and that helps a ton.
Kevin, so I was kind of wondering about this, and I think about this a lot with people that kind of work these events that as fans we all so obsessed with. And I wonder, like, do you have a favorite part still? Like, is there a part that still gets you like super excited? I mean, obviously you love what you do, but it's also a huge grind, as you kind of just described to us. Like, is there a part that just as a fan of sports and of the sport of college basketball that still gets you super excited about this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look, I have had this debate with other play-by-play announcers, and some of the older guys are like, oh, you can't be a fan, you can't be a fan. And I just think that's completely wrong. I have to be, for me, you have to be a fan of the sport. Otherwise, it's just, you're just going to work. And that's, I mean, what is that? I'm supposed to be out there having fun. And look, I sit in a chair that has the best access in the world. I'm sitting half court. I get to talk to every coach, every player. I get to do these games that so many people would give their eye teeth to do. I never, ever take that for granted. The fact that I'm doing this at the ultimate level. Like, I never thought I would be doing this. So it's when I sit down at the Final Four, and it's going to be especially cool this year because it's back in San Antonio, and that was where I had my first Final Four back in 2008. And there's going to be a lot of memories that come up sitting there with Coach Thompson and with Bill Raftery and with the Chalmers shot and all of that stuff that happened in 2008. And for me to be back in San Antonio I hope it doesn't mean that this is the end, but when I'm back in San Antonio, it's going to be one of those moments where, you just kind of have to realize, gosh, because I still remember that year. I still remember that Final Four. I still remember walking out and seeing Bill Russell in the lobby of the place and thinking, what am I doing here? What is happening? And so, those moments are the moments that still kind of take me back. Like, wow, what am I doing here? How cool is this? And I will have a lot of those moments in the tournament because I always do. The tournament has a lot of great memories for me and has a lot of great moments for me. And I've gotten to call a lot of really cool things as a result of it. So those moments are still just, they're pinch me moments. Even after all these years of doing it, it's one of those things that doesn't get old. I have a lot of those moments. I walk into an NFL booth every Sunday and that to do TV, and that doesn't get old. There's never a point where I'm like, well, gosh, you know what? I think I'd rather just sit at home and stare at the wall. No, this is cool. It's a cool thing to do. And I'm blessed to be able to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think I told you this, talking to Greg Sharp. I said, with my career arc, the two most influential people have been you and him, right? The transitioning from what you just talked about. Of
three is Shane, right?
Yes, I love Shane. Shane is where I learned to practice kindness and being other-centered.
Yes, unfortunately, you haven't yet learned patience with Shane, but eventually that will come.
So, just like telling the story differently, one of the things I think you do differently, and I'm curious if you still do it, because I got this from you sitting in coaches' meetings. You talked about the car wash on Wednesday. Do you still do kind of the deal where you obviously are getting storylines and you're kind of jotting down notes and you're talking, and you still weave those kinds of things in during the broadcast, right? That somebody will go on a run and that you'll talk about a story and they talked about wanting to play a certain, like, is that by design? Does it happen naturally? I know you could do it. You did it with football, and I watched it. Is it still the same when you get those car washes in college basketball? Because it happens so fast.
It does, and it's harder to do in basketball, and you have to be more succinct with it. But and you saw it this year watching football. I mean, our group really, and I want to think I was an influence on this. Our group is really big on making sure we get the stories on the air. It does, and every group has their own philosophy, and there's not a right or wrong one. But I always feel like if I'm going to sit down and talk to a coach or a player, and they're going to take the time to sit down and talk to us about their team, about their philosophy, whatever, it feels like I should share that kind of access with the audience. I mean, I don't need those stories from myself. I'm not sitting around at night telling my wife, Michelle, hey, and then the coach said this, and then the player said this. I bet you're really interested to see this is how they run their 2-3. It's a little different than what you'll normally see. I don't.
So that's the key to a happy marriage. You don't do that.
Exactly.
Breaking down the 2-3.
No. She actually has a poster in our a framed picture in our living room that says, "Feel free not to talk to me about sports." So that's I think the real key to a marriage is just ignore most of what I do. But she's learned to ignore most of what I do over the course of a lot of years. So in sports and otherwise. But I always feel like if I'm going to get that information, and if I find it interesting, maybe somebody else will find it interesting too. So it comes up. For example, Vlad Golden, the center for Michigan, we had a game earlier this year where he got tangled up with somebody inside, and I just had this little note written on my boards that he was a competitive wrestler until the age of 15 when he turned his attention to basketball. Now everybody knows Vlad Golden is this giant mountain of a Russian man, and so but he got tangled up, and there was a little scrum, pushing and shoving, and I just dropped in and I was like, hey, Be careful. I remember who it was. Yeah, Vlad was a competitive wrestler until the age of 15, and now he's bigger. I don't think he's forgotten the moves. He's just got a lot of size behind him. So there's, it's little stuff like that if you get the information, it feels like it's, and I mean, look, this, there's so much stuff you probably don't get 95% of it on the air in any given broadcast. But the one time you do that you get a good story on the air, you feel really good about it. And I mean, one time in my career have I ever gotten on talkback where there's a button you push in the booth, for those that aren't there, that allows you to communicate off air with the producer. And you can say, hey, I want to do this. One time in my entire career, I had a story about DeAndre Carter in a football game. This was a few years ago on NFL. And I got on my talkback and said, I know I've never asked for this, producer, but I want to come back and I want to tell a story. He's like, great. So we came back because DeAndre Carter, his brother, had died as a high schooler in a weight room accident. And as he sat by his younger brother's bedside, he swore to his brother that he would make their NFL dream come true. And it was a story that not really too many people had known, because he had told it to me when I was in meeting with him for a preseason game. And I'd written it down because it was such a cool story. And I saved it. And when it came up, he ran a kickoff back for a touchdown. We had the game. I got to tell the story. Oh my gosh. Like the local media then picked it up in the city he was in, and they all did these stories on it. And it was really cool. But those are the kind of moments where you're like, that's why you do the prep, is for that moment where you may be able to tell a story like that. That's pretty cool.
Kevin, we don't have a ton of opportunities to talk to someone who's called as many NCAA tournament games as you have. Full disclosure, it is my favorite sporting event of all time. Do you have a favorite call that you've done, like a moment that was your favorite to call?
Well, I'm trying to think. And we're just talking NCAA tournament, right? It's not like if I was in college and I called Damon Benning kicking a game-winning field goal or anything. So not that. But because I saw a picture on the internet of Damon kicking, so I really kind of reinforced.
Yeah, I think you authored that.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway. No, but the first Final Four I did was obviously one of my favorite moments of all time because it was my first. And they say you never forget your first, and I have not. And it was, but it was just there was so much in there. basketball call. Come on, Damon, get your mind out of the gutter.
That's also a tough one to beat too. That's a tough.
I need to grow up. I'm sorry.
You do. You do. And hopefully Bill and Papillion will call and you can ask him about lawn maintenance or something.
Got some sales at Fairway. I'll ask.
Exactly. But you had that moment, and then you have me in my first Final Four, and I'm intimidated anyway because I'm taking over for Kevin Harlan. And I'm sitting there with Bill Raftery, who I've watched my entire life and think is just the greatest human being ever, and John Thompson, who I was deathly afraid of because I had watched Big East basketball and saw this giant man with a towel scowling at people. And I thought, what if he scowls at me? I'm not going to be able to handle that. I'm going to melt into a puddle. And then, the whole, you think they should foul here, Billy, right in the middle of the final call, and Bill Raftery going, I do. And then I call him the shot, and I get an onions and the whole thing. And I mean, and then I get done. And of course, our dear friend Michael Severe says to me, no matter how many times you hear that call, it's always going to have John Thompson in there saying, you think they should foul here, Billy?
Old wet blanket.
Helpful. Helpful. Yeah. It's like Eeyore is like having Eeyore as a friend.
I think he would just be tickled that you were taking over for Harlan, given his affinity for him. But anyway.
Yeah, he's a fan. He's a big fan. But that one will always resonate. The Villanova, North Carolina game and that frenetic finish is one that I will never forget. I was relatively pleased with the call. And I say that because there are many times I'm not pleased with the call. So I don't say it like, oh, look at how grit I did. It was one of those moments where it's like, I didn't screw it up. That's awesome. And so that's
one of Damon's
like.
favorite games too.
Yeah, how many times did Kevin screw it up? And honestly, there's another one. The game was bad, but the Butler Duke game with the Hayward half-court shot almost went in.
Yeah,
I will always remember that because we get done, and our engineer, who may be related to Michael Severe, turns to me and goes, Kevin, Al Rosenberg, great guy, Michigan guy. Kevin, you almost had a call that would have been played every year for the next 50 years. But now, not so much. And he walks away.
Well, at least he's consistent. I mean, I give that to him.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, all right, well, I guess that's one way to look at it. So that call will never be heard again. I've been lucky. And then, of course, I've called both 116s. So I've been lucky on all that.
Yeah.
Virginia. Meet Virginia. Hey, K2, let me get you out of here on this. You've seen a ton of basketball, obviously, this year. Is there something we're missing that you think the champion will do, or what teams do to give them success to move on in what appears to be fairly wide open, at least until you get to like the top 6 or 7 teams?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see this year, and I don't know if it's what you're missing, but I think what you're going to see in the tournament this year is you're going to need a balanced team. And I don't mean a balanced team of we have 6 guys who score 10 points or more. You're going to need a team that does a little bit of offense and a little bit of defense. I don't think you can just be one of these teams that are so heavily offense that, we're just going to run up down the floor and you can't outscore us. Well, Alabama is that team. Alabama is a team that just runs up and down the floor. They score with anybody. But as we saw in the SEC tournament, you can beat that team. You can figure out a way to do that. Florida, to me, is a team that is a very frightening team from that standpoint because they run, they score, they're efficient, they defend. They defend enough to make their scoring overwhelming. And I think that's a dangerous team. I think Houston is so dangerous this year because they've added shooting to what is always a hard defense to play. Kelvin Sampson's teams always defend the heck out of it. Now they can shoot a little bit. That's a frightening thought when you look at teams in this bracket that can do a little bit of everything. And they can do a bit of defense, but their Achilles heel was always, can you score enough? I think they can score enough now. Florida can definitely score enough. I walked away from the SEC this weekend thinking Florida might be the best team in America. They are deep. They are good. They're well coached. They've got a great backcourt, and everybody says guard play is the difference in the tournament. If it is, they've got 3 really good guards in the backcourt. They're a little bit of everything. Houston's a little bit of everything. And to me, that's what I like to look for in the tournament. Give me somebody, a group of guys that has a little bit of everything. A lot of teams have something, do they have a little bit of everything? And those two teams that I mentioned are just two that I think of off the top of my head that do.
All right, I fib. Last one, because I listened to this almost my whole way drive down to Fairfield. You had Iowa State and Houston. Iowa State, Jones was in foul trouble. They're missing 2 starters. Houston's got them bogged down. Iowa State makes a run. Whose injury do you think looms larger? Is it Gilbert for Iowa State, or maybe Nelson with what Alabama needs from him and how that knee is?
Yeah, I think Nelson's a really big question mark, and they've got to have him, because if you watched or listened to any of that game, the whole game turned on when he went out. He's such a versatile player that without him in there, it just takes away a big piece of what Alabama does from a size standpoint. Iowa State's figured out ways this year to overcome losses in specific games. I think they can probably do that again. But Alabama they're really good. I don't want to make it sound like I think this team is going to lose in the first round, because I do not. They're a really talented team. Nate Oates is an outstanding basketball coach. I just think that Nelson injury is one to really keep an eye on going into this weekend. That worries me for Alabama. Not that I'm going to lose any sleep about it, but that's a pretty devastating loss if they don't get him back.
That's Kevin Kugler, play-by-play voice for everything you probably watch or listen to at any point sports related. Kevin, we appreciate it as always. Great stuff. Rest that voice up, and we look forward to hearing you.
Have a good call. Michelle and I
you.
will celebrate North Carolina in the play-in game.
Yes. I mean, what is that? Come on. Who are you just finagling that garbage? Give me a break.
It's the power of your wife.
Hey, Bubba Cunningham wasn't...
Yeah, exactly. Bubba Cunningham. Oh, look, I got a $100,000 bonus. Neat.
He wasn't in the room. I'm sure it's fine.
Knock it off.
He still gets the check.
Knock it off, you two. Knock it off.
I'm sure it's fine, Kevin. He wasn't in the room.
Go Heels. All right. Goodbye.
See you, buddy. That's
Kevin Kugler. He does play-by-play for literally every sport in the world. We appreciate Kevin joining us and indulging us here a little bit. Shane, you just want to wrap it up here? We good?
That's your call.
It's your call. You're the boss.
Yeah, I'm just following your lead.
Well, Shane. Well, didn't Cougs just say we needed to be a little more kind?
That's why I was deferring. I was asking Shane.
Well, Shane, so he's granting you permission to run the show. Do you want him to just do what he does, and we'll go?
We come back. We come back tomorrow.
I can't ban people, but I can run the show.
I didn't say you couldn't ban him. I just don't know if dork is a bannable offense.
He's in his field. I didn't see what it was because it removed the comments when you put him on timeout, but.
Yeah. It's fine.
I trust Shane's judgment because I've asked him to ban people before, and he's like, "Oh, we don't want to ban people."
It's a kinder, gentler Shane.
It's a kinder, gentler Shane. I mean,
I don't know if that's true.
You want to just wrap it up here because this is getting kind of awkward.
Well, you've had to talk too much.
You know it's not awkward going over to our friends at Centris Federal Credit Union. It's springtime. I know it might be a little cold on Wednesday, a little snowy, but spring's right around the corner, and it's time to spring into action. Use your home's equity, which if you own a home, good chance you got some equity in it. Leverage that to get a bucket list vacation, perfect your home renovation, whatever it is. There's value in your home's equity, and Centris can help you access it. They're federally insured by NCAA and an equal housing lender. Get to centrisfcu.org to talk to an expert to see what your options are. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We will be back tomorrow with more Hurrdat Sports Live.